Good afternoon, Merrimack. Welcome to the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is June 20th, 2022. And I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:06 p.m. Have us all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. All right. So I'll go through roll call of members. We've got Wolf Von Sean here to my left, Ken Ayers to my right, and joining us through remotely is John Lyons. John, can you tell us where you are and if anyone is around you?
25 Windsor Drive. My fiance's way over there watering the grass. As long as that's okay.
Yeah. Our finance director, Michelle Holton, is not here today, so I think we're going to skip the analysis of revenue and expenditures report and regular session. So the first thing on the regular session agenda is the annual review of the investment policy. We have a copy of the investment policy. Is anything different from the last one, or we just have to review this basically again?
Yeah, it's just the dates that change.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that or anything? Yeah, that was my only question, is if anything's changed, which if it hasn't. So you're looking for a motion and approval for us to, okay.
So moved on the investment policy.
Seconded.
All right. Motion made by investment policy, second by Wolf. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Go back and amend that just to give the dates of July 1st of 2022 to June 30th of 2023.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Did you get that, Amanda, to add that to the motion, the dates for what is this fiscal year, July 1st, 2022 to June 30, 2023? I'm going to just add that to the motion. Is that okay with the motion maker?
Yes, it does.
And the second?
Still second.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Next item on the agenda are
Do we need a roll call
for
for the vote?
the amendment. All right. Let's we want to vote again on the amended motion. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. John, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, so that carries 4-0-0. Yeah, I don't think I asked John, did I?
That's fine. Sorry to interrupt.
John, you're a good man. I don't care what Wolf says.
Okay, sorry about that. Moving on to Board of Commissioners to hear from Underwood Engineers on ongoing projects.
Can wait one more minute. Keith is jumping on right now.
Sure. I assume he's going to start with well, 7 and 8 or whatever he's.
No, I could start out with the first couple if you want.
All right, sure. Why don't you do that?
Then Keith is gonna you would have to come in more with the other ones, but so just fill you in a little bit on 7 and 8. So we are online right now, and I assume you knew that from the last meeting. I was not at the last meeting, but we're online pumping water into the system, so that's good.
Yep.
We did not figure out exactly what was causing that high iron. We're not seeing that in some of the pilot columns that we have running right now, so we're still investigating that. So what, that's sort of to be determined, I guess, right now. So that part's good. There's not much more with that. We're just working through the contract on the last few little items, but that's kind of it. Yeah.
Any questions on wells 7 and 8 from anyone? Update on that? Is there any outstanding things we were?
Well, we had talked about some cost contribution, right? By the supplier of the media, and that is kind of pending, isn't it?
And we're still working on that. We haven't. Were you drafting a letter for that?
Yes. Yeah. And then the other thing is the maintenance bond. We're trying to work through the logistics of that one. Just to give you, I guess, a little information. I don't know how much detail you want to get into, but we wanted a 5-year maintenance bond. And I guess from what we hear, you cannot get a 5-year bond. You need to get, 5 consecutive 1-year maintenance bonds. So we're trying to figure out the wording to that. Through the attorneys and all that kind of stuff to make sure that it's all legal and all that kind of stuff. So
So I was talking about the cost of contribution, considering the fact that we burned through media just to flush the iron out.
Right.
That's a separate item. That's a separate item. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Letter to approval for that as well. And Pete, one thing I don't think the board is aware of is the backwash that we had to do at 7 and 8.
Oh, okay. They're not. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, the operators were running the plant, and all of a sudden we started to develop through the month of May a high differential pressure across vessel number 1. So we contacted Evoqua. We looked at the O&M manual. It says to backwash it. If you start to get a high differential. 25, 50, 75, and 100, and those all come down, to a manifold at the bottom of the tank. We're able to put pressure gauges on that and determine that most of that head loss was taken up in the first 25% of the vessel. So we're assuming that it was something that was sort of covering the top of the, the GAC, but we did not know what that was. If that was, something coming out of the green sand vessels. So when we were doing the backwash, we had Evoqua come up there, and they actually took samples of the raw water going into the GAC, into the green sand, water coming out of the green sand before GAC, and then water coming out of the GAC. So they took samples of that. We also took samples of the backwash water at various intervals to try to see if we could capture what might be coming out of that. All of the backwash water was clean. There was, you could not see it with the naked eye, that there was anything in there. But they did take samples, and they're taking them back for analytics. We do not have any of that information back yet. So we are not sure what that is. One thing that we were putting in there, and we put this in as a change order item, was a iron analyzer in between the green sand and the GAC. And so right now we're just taking sort of grab samples whenever we take it. But once we get the analyzer, then we'll be able to, record that. We trended on a SCADA and all that. That has been on order since January, and they to us because they are waiting for some parts to finish assembling it. So. But it's still not there yet.
When you say tank,
being the lead vessel. So I don't think it has anything to do with it being hit. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, so what it is, a head loss is a pressure gauge at the beginning of the vessel and a pressure gauge at the end of the vessel. And then there's, it can measure differential pressure across the vessel. So as you develop, high differential pressure, then it's telling you something that's going wrong with your vessel. So when we are going through all this, flushing to waste and all that kind of stuff, we are seeing somewhat normal head loss, differential pressures, going, on that vessel. And then in May or end of April going into May, it just started to slowly rise to a point that, it needed to be backwashed. So it didn't have any, that vessel was functioning properly up until that point. And then for the reason we're trying to determine is why are we getting that differential pressure, higher differential pressure right now?
We have differential pressure gauges on our green sand filters, which drives the when we need to backwash. So when that pressure gets too high, then it would send it into back. Each filter would go into backwash or whatever filter the pressure is getting too high on. So it's something is plugging out that filter vessel.
So when you did the initial conditioning on the 2 carbon vessels, were you always flushing the lead through the lag, or did you ever go lag to lead?
Nope, you're always going lead to lag. Yep.
All right, because I know if there was iron in the carbon, I was just wondering if it could have got pushed.
Nope. So it's always, and it's so it's the lead vessel, so it's right as you're coming out of, so you might want to think that it has something to do with something coming out of the the green sand. One of the one of their hypotheses, I don't want to get into too much because we don't know if it's true or not, but they're thinking that maybe some of the iron bacteria isn't totally getting killed off by the chlorine before it goes through the before it goes through the green sand. So then it's actually being, killed afterwards, and it's coming and slowly filtering out onto the bed of the GAC. That was one thing they were thinking that it might be.
So 2 questions. So you're saying we backflush the GAC vessel after it has been used for 4 months, 5 months. Where did we go? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where did we go with the wastewater?
Oh, we went to the infiltration basin.
And that was not a concern from a contamination standpoint?
No.
Okay.
Because your GAC, the PFAS sticks to the GAC. Right. So you're not, when you go to backwash, it's not like a green sand. When you go into backwash with a green sand, it actually cleans off, the iron and manganese you have in that, and that comes out in the backwash water. The PFAS will actually stay attached to the GAC.
The reason why I'm asking was that was one of the major concerns of the town regarding sewer connection. So that would have been a great opportunity to prove that this is true. Do we have that ability? Did we take samples of the wastewater?
Brian took some duplicate samples, and I'm not sure what he did with those. Are those just in the fridge right now, Ron? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I can find out on that tomorrow, but we did sample.
Probably sample
PFAS samples to kind of see how the layers
of the backwash. You did?
Not of the backwash, but of the. When we went back into forward motion, forward flow, we took samples at the different ports just to see what the when we start tracking it going forward, how if there's going to be higher down to the 75 port, because we don't know where.
That was my next question. Backflashing, I would assume, has jumbled up the media, right? So our readings are now going to probably be quite different going forward.
Well, we haven't. This will be our first. So we're going to test tomorrow, sample tomorrow. So that'll be our first round of sampling for the media.
Okay. Would be good to maybe mark
baseline to go off of, so we know what we are at prior to.
It would be maybe good to see in the chart, like a line, horizontal date line or something, when this flushing happens, so we can.
Yeah, definitely record that.
Yeah.
So hopefully only the top, the very top of the carbon was removing the PFAS.
Yeah.
So hopefully all of that didn't get scrambled to end up lower in the bed, I wouldn't think, right?
And that's one thing that they get concerned about, but they, seeing that we are fairly early in the life of the media, that they weren't too concerned with that. But yeah,
Right.
that is more of a concern when you're getting, longer into the life of your media, that if you do a backwash, now it's going to be somewhat, jumbled, and it would affect your,
Right.
results coming out of each port. Yeah.
Right.
Should we do an action item that, just as a proof to the town that backflushing doesn't release PFAS into the environment?
So if we have one of those samples of the backwash water still, then that's what you're saying, we can test that for PFAS.
Yeah, compare that with it would just be a nice cornerstone,
Probably, because if the time comes, if we ever do need to put it in a sewer at wells 4 and 5, we could have that for information. I do remember one of the concerns from Sarita was not just the release of the PFAS off the carbon, but she was concerned if we actually blow out some carbon into the sewer, because the actual carbon media with the PFAS attached to it could end up in our compost.
Yeah. So the thing is on the, I guess on the backwash, so I guess we could test it down there, but you have higher levels of PFAS at well 4 and 5, and that's where we would be looking to go to the, the sewer. We would not be looking to go to sewer at 7 and 8. There's not a possibility for that. At least right now, the town's wastewater pump station down by Giorgio's is at, capacity, so that wouldn't accept any waste. And then you would have to, construct a pump station and force main to pump it, from the plant up near the old apple pie store, so it can get it to the gravity system and then flow down to that pump station. But you would have to construct a lot of, capital to get that pump station, to force main in there, and then, probably participate in some of the upgrade of that pump station too.
No, I don't think we're ever talking about at well 7 and 8. We're just seeing if this data can be used as an analogy to wells 4 and 5, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if, Sarita would like that or not, or she would want to see it coming from, the plant. I would also like to see it maybe more when we go to do the change out of vessel 4-5, when you have more water in your system that has been treated for PFAS, the level in your system, is a lot lower. So right now you're still getting, depending on what water Pennachuck is using and how much you're taking from them and how much you're using from well 2 right now, your levels of your backwash waters are going to be higher than once you get all 3 plants going. Theoretically, you're going to be, below MCL of all the compounds, when you're doing your backwash. So
we could possibly get a false positive right now because we're using raw, we're using distribution water, which has PFAS in it.
Yeah.
No, Lynette's trying to say something.
Jump in, Lynette.
we have backwash samples from the initial backwash at 7 and 8. And I'm thinking we did it at 4 and 5 too. I'm just looking to see if I can find them, if we actually did it or not. But so I think we did because of that, with the the town rejecting the backwash. We did testing on it when we backwashed 4 and 5 to try and prove to them that it was okay to have that data for them.
But that was always the initial conditioning, right? That wasn't after it was in use for a few months. Maybe that's the difference.
It was the initial backwash that they were concerned with.
Yeah.
But they also concerned with Lynette because we did also tell them that we could be, backwash and the just like what we did at 7 and 8. There's a possibility that we could.
But I thought their concern was that we'd be flushing out GAC. In the back.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen.
I think it was kind of it was both. It was that and also the media.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the cost? Is it $300 a sample, or is there more involved in that?
I haven't seen so sad, which is it's $250 a sample, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, do we feel it's worth it? I guess, at least we have something on record if we ever need it, maybe.
Might, like down the road,
Yeah.
for any other expansion or whatever, we,
Yeah. So I guess if you can find the samples from the backwash, and if you can, pour those in a PFAS sample container. Is that preservative in there? I thought they did, right? Isn't there like a little tablet in there? Yeah.
Can I ask an uneducated question here? So if there's no PFAS in the backwash water, then can the backwash water not go into the ground?
It can, yeah.
Is that not feasible, or why are we thinking about sending it down the sewer?
Well, we wanted, at least at 4 or 5, we wanted to have the option of sending it to the sewer infiltration, so you have, had some flexibility, because on 4 or 5, we were very close to the sewer system. So we wanted to have the option there. And at first we were, being told, volume of backwash water, and we were, estimating the size of our infiltration basin. And it just would be nice if we needed to go, filter the waste for a while and you didn't have the room in your infiltration basin, then where do you put the water? Then at least you have the sewer as an option.
There was a concern about putting arsenic. Some of the GAC had arsenic in the backwash, and there was a concern about putting that in the infiltration basin. So then we wanted to send it to the sewer system, but then we got rejected from the sewer system. So we had to pay extra to use the carbon that doesn't produce acid.
Washed over there,
Yeah, it's acid wash, so it doesn't have arsenic in it. So we are
Actually,
paying a little extra money, aren't we, for that?
No, I don't think that's not acid treated, right? Acid wash, right? No.
Okay.
It's not, yeah. But we do, some of the other carbons, they are higher in arsenic, and you do have to acid wash them to get the arsenic down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to go ahead with, it's $250. I don't know that we need to talk about it for another half hour, but
yeah,
as long as go ahead and take a sample, I guess.
Yeah, as long as Ron has, or Brian has the samples down there, right, that we can do that with. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we don't, then we won't,
Yeah, I'll check tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we could look at the startup records of when we started up the GACs or the vessels, and then see what we had for PFAS on those. Do we have that in the backwash, correct, Lynette, on those? Just checking the results on those.
Yeah, and I found the ones on 7 and 8. I'm still looking to see if I can find the ones on 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I think we did it though.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on well 7 and 8? I guess we can move on.
Okay, so then to well 2 project. So that project is moving along decently. If you go up there, you have the building with, has insulation, everything on the exterior, everything's ready to go except for the siding pretty much. All the insulation's on, the trim's on, windows are in, roof's done. Most of the soffit trim is completed. So the building is really is enclosed, definitely watertight, so they're working inside. Interior, they have a lot of work done with the ceiling in the GAC room being completed. So they'll be insulating the attics. If they haven't done that already, they're gonna be doing that this week. And then they'll be able to pull the staging out of the GAC room and start doing the process piping in there. They've been working on the electrical and mechanical systems right along. So those are moving along decently. The valves that I reported to you that would be coming in April, the butterfly valves, those are now on site except for the class 250 valves. So standard valves are class 150, and we're using those everywhere except for valves that we need down in the well number 2 building, the existing building, and anything on the influent side of the vessels. Everything after that can be class 150. And the reason we had 250 on those, in the case that you had to go to an additional treatment after the GAC or before the GAC, whatever it turns out to be, it would, we were estimating that you would, there would be head loss across those vessels. So it would increase your pressure on the raw water side, which would go higher than the rating of a class 150 valve. So we wanted to get 250 valves in there so you did not have to change those valves out if you did any work later on. So those are the only ones that are outstanding right now. So that's a good sign that we got those early. Some of the other things, there's you sort of hit and miss. Some of the stuff is coming in a little earlier and some of it's coming in a little bit later. But the contractor is working right along. He is estimating. He just gave us a schedule this weekend, and I'm going through it. His last schedule that he gave us out last month, the substantial completion date went from the middle of October to the middle of December. And then I asked him why that happened at the last meeting, and he said that he would look into it and give me a new schedule. And the one that he gave me this weekend also showed the middle of December. And I need to go through that and start checking, where, that sort of that time kind of got lost. So I'm not sure exactly where that comes from.
So are there doors on the building now?
Yep.
So all the inside's all secure and everything, right?
Yeah, no, that's not totally secure because, they have the doors on there, but they don't have all the hardware and, the knobs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can still get into the building.
Okay.
Yeah. And the garage doors that we had that go into the GAC vessel room, those are not in yet either. And part of that is because all the staging is up in that room. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What else am I going to ask? What were the other long lead items? The VFD and some electrical components or something?
Yeah, so the VFD for, some of the longer ones were the generator, and that's still scheduled to be coming in August. So that's, there's been no change on that. The other one is the VFD for well 9, and that's supposed to come in December, so, and maybe that's the thing on their schedule that kicks it out that far, because they had that on there. But I think we could, if we get well 2 started up, then I think we can run the plant with just well 2 and not have well 9 on there. So we could actually start up with that. The work at well 2, I don't know if Ron filled you in at the last meeting, but we have asked them to postpone their work on well 2 until August 29th, which we felt was going to be the end of the summer. And we'll have to look at it as we're going through the summer. If all of a sudden everything starts to go, really bad, we might tell them to hold off a little bit. But we told them to hold off until August 29th to start that work, because once you start that work in well 2, that is offline until you get the plant running, because that's where the new VFD is going to be, located. Yeah. So if we take that off, if we decide to do the work at well 2 right now, you won't have well 2 all summer long. So we told them to postpone that. And I think that is one of the things that kicked the schedule out a little bit, but I don't think it kicked it out too much.
So when you were saying that the VFDs are coming in December, is that both
just
VFDs?
One of them. No, just one. Right. Yeah. Ron, what was the other one? Was that coming in?
I think that was August as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, I think well 2 is in August.
All right. So if we get approval for well 9, and we want to keep well 2 online, can we use the VFD for well 9, or is that the one? Are they both the same?
No, they're different.
Oh, they are a
I
little
think,
different.
I think well
Okay.
9's a 250 horse VFD and well 2's a 200. Submersible has a little extra safety factor on there, so it usually kicks up the rating of the VFD 1 horsepower rating. So it goes from 200 to 250.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and then those are tough. Just if you say, oh, let's stick in the well 2 VFD and run well 9, well it's a little tougher to do on that because the lines going out to well 9 because of the distance away from the building that they are, you get a lot more head loss on those lines. So we have 2 pairs of 500 MCM cables. So those cables are roughly an inch, in diameter, and there's 2 sets. So each set is 3 of those wires. So you have 6 of those wires running out to well 9, and you only have 1 set running to well 2. So if you're going to redo some of that wiring in there, you got to kind of it's a lot tougher to. It's not like simple house wiring where you can just run a 12 gauge wire from one panel to another or something like that. It would be it would be a little more work to try to maneuver that to so it can work. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess our reduced rate with Penachuk goes through October.
It does.
So we should really be past peak use by then anyways.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking when Ron and I were talking, and we were looking at, and we picked that date of August 29th. That was, one of the things we were looking at. That's like, okay, it's gonna be end of the summer. If we do get into a little something, we have, you have that reduced rate, for Penachuk to help out.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Pete on wells 2 and 9?
Nope.
All right. Next was the draft rate study update. Is that next what you guys want to cover?
Yeah, we can do that. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How you doing? I got Megan with me too, who did a bunch of this work. She's been helping me, so I'll start summarizing it, but she'll correct me if I miss something or probably be able to answer more of the questions. But just as a refresher, I know Michelle and staff were, and the board was worried about where we stood with rates, and we had gone back. We've been working on the old rate model that was done in 2018-ish, 17, 18, based on a lot of assumptions, and you've done couple of rate adjustments along the way. In fact, the most recent one was an increase, but also an adjustment to go to the tiered rate structure for conservation reasons. But we're still a year or two away from having a good handle on the operational costs for the new facilities. So there's a plan to do a full boat rate update probably in the next year or two, probably 2 years once things, maybe next year when things get better defined. But in the interim, you need to know what would make sense for this upcoming fiscal year. So Megan did it actually, a kind of a dust off of the model and just updated some things and looked at the cost, the things that look the same, look higher, look lower from that work. And then made some recommendations for an interim rate adjustment. The idea being, like before, we're still projecting what we think the final rate adjustments will be in 2024 or 2025. But we're suggesting that we take a bite out of that this year to sort of spread it out over 2 years. And to jump to the findings, we're still seeing that another 24% is needed to make you whole based on the assumptions and the budgets and the operation estimates that we're putting together to date. We're recommending this year take an interim bite out of that at 11%. You can do a little bit more, you can do a little bit less. We're thinking 11% makes sense. Megan provided what that rate increase would look like. And that would mean next year, we'd still need to do another one of similar magnitude. It'd be around 12% if our current assumptions hold true, but we will just double check things at that point. There's a couple of things that did happen or that are different from the estimates that we did back in 17 and 18. And frankly, we're not, all told, we're not that far off. If you look at certain things like the budget is a little higher than we estimated. Costs have gone up, and your costs and the operational costs are maybe a little higher than we expected. Not by much though, about 3% we think for FY24. We're seeing lower consumption than we had been estimating previously. So we are using that now in the model. And despite you having more accounts to bill, we're actually seeing less consumption. So you're selling less water on average in the last few years than you had previously. So that was both the increase in O&M and the decrease in consumption had a little bit of a hit in terms of what we had estimated. But that was all offset by some success you've had in getting some grants for the PFAS projects that weren't anticipated when we did the original work. We had assumed that all the debt service would be carried by the users without any assistance for wells 7, 8, and 2, 3. But in fact, you ended up getting some pretty significant dollars to reduce that debt service. So all told, we're still estimating if the assumptions that we're still carrying and the estimates we're still carrying today hold true, we're still estimating about an 80% overall increase through the end of the projects through the next year or two. And we had originally estimated about 79%. So it's pretty close, and I think pretty good given the volatility and in cost increase that you're seeing. In fact, we're using annual O&M increases of 5% now than where previously we're using 3%. So given all that, it's still landing pretty close to what we think. Our recommendation is to grab an 11% this year, coming right up as soon as you can. And then we revisit it again. And we think you're still going to be looking at another 12% in a subsequent year. So I think I summarized most of it. Before I ask any questions, I just want to make sure, Megan, if I missed anything or misstated anything.
Nope, that all sounds right, Keith.
Megan puts it together very well, so it's easy for me to deliver the message. So yeah, happy to answer any questions, either Megan or myself.
I have a question. We're doing this. Other municipalities, have they stated what they're increasing? Are we kind of like with this 11%? I noticed that we're still like for a regular single unit. You have the state average of 577. So we're still below the average with 11% increase, but has it been other statements from other water companies, about rate increases?
Yeah, we do a lot of rate work. Megan does most of it for Underwood throughout. Maybe she can give a sense of that too. But no, I think Merrimack's, on average higher, but most of the rate increases we're talking about for Merrimack is because of the capital costs and the operating costs for PFAS. So that makes it a little bit unique. We are seeing rate adjustments, that are in the 3, 4, 5% range, or some less, some more, for normal operating increases. But the rate work we really focused on was because you were undergoing a $14.5 million capital project that was going to increase operations by a significant amount. So it puts you in a little bit of a unique thing. It's hard to compare that to another community.
Okay.
So I just want to confirm, what do we get? Like was it 3.1 or $3.3 million grant from American Recovery Plan? 3.3, right? So that 3.3 is factored in to the rate study?
Yeah,
It is.
Is it 3.3, Megan? It was
3.369 375.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was factored in this revision. Yep.
Yep.
And then kind of disappointed because I thought we were going to see a reduction in the total cost, especially when we don't have to build iron and manganese treatment on well 3, which we were thinking was like at least $4.5 million. that was factored into the warrant articles. So I
Right.
was looking at that 4.5 plus the 3.3, thinking we're knocking $7+ million, almost $8 million off the cost of all of this. I
Yeah, I
was
don't think-
expecting to see a reduction in that 79% ultimate rate, but
Yeah, no, I don't think that 4.5 million was ever there to save, because it was all done. That money went towards, building a larger plant with the new wells to support, the same numbers of water. So basically we diverted the dollars that were going to be spent on well 3 and brought it over to well 2. So you are spending, Peter can tell me, but we are spending $14+ million to complete both these projects.
yeah.
You just got a lot more grant to do it than we had thought before, but no, you're still spending the capital cost that was approved, give or take. I mean, we're coming in under it, but you're spending most of it.
And a lot of it is also has to do with the inflation that's going on right now too.
Yes. I mean, we saw that in the bidding. I mean, we put estimates together for you. Lynette really remember, because she put them together. That was probably 5 years ago. So the $14.5 million budget was estimated in 2016 or 17. Yeah. And we're still working within that. So I think we all did pretty well getting it there. But
yes, we are, Keith. We are gonna we'll be in under that at 14. We're not gonna have much left, but we'll be a little bit under that. So
yeah. I mean, we're seeing just as anecdotal information. I mean, we're bidding projects that are, not just us, and we're actually doing a pretty good job with our estimates because we're trying to be pretty conservative up front. But there are projects that are just coming in 20, 30, or 40% higher than what communities had originally budgeted or approved. So it's a major issue. So we did well here to make that work and get you all the water treated that was originally planned to be treated. We're just doing it in a little different way.
Gotcha. Keith, just for the record, I think you said something, or at least I heard something earlier, that our rate would be above New Hampshire rate. It's not based on the projections.
No, if I said that I was mistaken, you are right that right now with 11%, you are going to remain under the state average. The state average is a good target, but that will go up every year too. That probably, that might be an interesting thing to track. I'm not sure I do have that tracked, but it's constantly being updated as folks update their rates in the state system. So when we come back to you next year and we do a 12% rate increase, maybe you'll start getting at it or just over it. I don't know if Megan has a sense on that, but currently you're under it. And with 11% we're talking about right now, you'll remain under it.
I may have misheard, but that's what I heard. Thank you.
So if we're going to be looking at an 11% increase, this is like
next year.
This isn't going to be in July, right? Next month? Or are we talking?
I think that was the idea, that you wanted to try to implement this as soon as possible. It's one of the reasons why we expedited this work.
So that's like a week and a half.
Yeah,
I mean, like public hearings.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to make July because of the 2 meetings. So we probably could have a public hearing in July.
So it would have to be effective later on.
Yeah.
I understand we have to do a rate increase, but I just, everything else going on, and then is it possible to break the 11% up? It's like 5.5% for the first 6 months, and then after 6 months do another rate increase, kind of break it up instead of getting them all at once.
You have to have hearings.
For if we were to back out some of the capital reserve contribution. What we're putting into capital reserves.
The short answer is you can do some things. What we're going to be telling you though is that based on what we're seeing, you're going to be at 80%, 79, 80% at the end of the day. And it is, for those of you that remember, I remember very well standing up with, this is what we told folks when they voted on it. This was going to be 79% at the end of the day. So you can chop it up or soften it, to your preference. If you do 5.5% now, it might be 6.5% later. So you're actually netting out a little bit more because you're losing some money sooner, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because of the compounding interest. So, just targeting something around 11% here in the near term and 12% in the next year or two is what you got to do. How you break that down a little bit can be, if you think it plays better with the users, that's okay. But you're going to be at 80% at the end of the day, plus or minus.
Well, just my 2 cents. I like the 11-12 structure that you got for this year and next year. I think that's fair. And it is what it is at this point. We have to meet budgets. So
Yeah.
as Keith said, getting started a little bit earlier, the less you do early, the more it compounds later. And, I think with everything going on, people would be receptive to an increase because everything else is going up, and they would have to figure that our costs are going up in addition to the special things that we got going on.
Right.
For us too, in the office, we'd have to do a town-wide read each time, which messes up movements up 2 cycles and confusing people again. So
yeah,
for
that's
us.
a good point. It's gonna swallow the pill in one slug instead of that, but good
2 slugs.
Good proposal, but it's got a lot of other consequences, I guess. All right.
Would this be the day when I bring in the monthly invoicing again instead of the rolling invoicing? I'll stop there. We would be much more flexible if we would bill everybody at the same time.
So I guess, should we think of doing the increase then? Probably not July 1st, but maybe out in
September, maybe.
Yeah.
It would have to be August, September anyways. We'd have to do the first read, second read type of thing. So it's going to be at least 2 meetings before we're going to get a septic increase.
And frankly, considering that almost everything else is going up 15, 20, 30% over the last 12, 18 months. I know it sucks, but I don't feel that bad with 11% this year, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm still trying to reconcile that the 4.5 million for the green sand vessels that we're not doing. We don't have to run that mile of pipe between well 2 and 3. And we got a $3.3 million grant. I was absolutely convinced we would be less than 80%, 79% because of that. So I don't know where $7 million ended up getting increased to cover that in general expenses or budget or whatever, but I'm almost positive that the 14.9 million warrant articles included 4.5 million for green sand vessels.
It did, but I guess, am I saying this correctly, Keith? Though, if we had bid out iron and manganese plant as well as the treatment plant, we'd probably be looking for more money because we would have come up short.
Is that the case then?
Yeah.
That is definitely what would have happened. I mean, most of what I think you're thinking about, Dawn, or the math in your head is a lot of that is the construction cost increase. I mean, we saved money by consolidating here and not building at 3, but I think that was offset by these construction cost increases that we've seen, most of it. So, like I said, we're using 10% a year now in construction costs. So 3 years in a row, that's 30% right there. That's significant when you're talking a $14 million project.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'd be in favor of going ahead with the 11%, probably in either August or September, whatever you think it makes sense to implement that.
Definitely. We'll get it on the agenda for July.
It doesn't have to be a board meeting, public hearing as well. We could do,
that's true.
We could do a public hearing, a quick one, beginning of July, and then the regular board meeting 2 weeks later, and still make it for August.
Now, do those hearings have to be like in a big auditorium or?
No, we did it here
before.
Yeah.
Just a public hearing to get public input, so it's not anything.
And we can offer the Zoom like we keep our regular meetings. So we can do that.
I mean, it's going to be tough in the middle of the summer to get us to go to the regular meetings. Can we just have the initial meeting in July and then the final meeting in August and implement it in September? So we'll have the public hearing at the same time as our regular meeting?
Yeah.
It'll probably only take 10 minutes.
Shouldn't take long.
Yeah. That way we don't have to get everybody together on a whole separate date, because just with summer coming, it's going to be hard enough to get us all together anyways, you know?
Yep.
All right.
I think people appreciate it anyways, because then they won't be getting charged a higher rate for all their irrigation.
Yeah. Great. But we're losing revenue. All right.
All right, well, we have to finalize. Megan had a couple comments come in from Michelle. I think she's worked those through. We'll clean up the report, finalize it, sign it, and then you'll have that armed with that for the public hearing, and we can be there as well.
Hey,
Do you need a motion for that?
Oh, we're not voting. Nope, I
don't think so yet, right?
I think you're going to take the motion and accept it when you have your hearings, but at least a nod to proceed.
All right, well, at least we're still on track. I guess you guys are making sense then if the cost of the treatment plants that we would have built would have exceeded what was approved in the warrant articles, we would have had to come back and get even more money. And the 80%, the 79% increase would have been up even higher to accommodate that. So we are saving the customers money by consolidating, by putting well 9 next to well 2 and treating everything over at well 2 and getting rid of the mile of pipe and not having to do the iron and manganese green sand treatment.
Exactly. Don, you may not, I think you'll remember, but Peter and I were very, very worried about this. And remember, we had that big work session with you right there in your office and said, we're over budget. We got to make some decisions. And we all went through those cost savings and value engineering efforts. And remember, we came up with these solutions to do just that.
And I think you called it the nuclear option of abandoning well 3 because of that extra cost of the iron and manganese treatment. Yeah, I remember now.
But we remember it well too, because we were definitely at the point where we had to make some decisions, but it all worked out good. It really did.
That's true. I do remember that now. That makes me feel a little better.
But Don, on top of that, your O&M costs are going to be lower with your system right now because you do not need to do iron and manganese treatment.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a plus right there.
Right. And I know chemicals are skyrocketed. I think those are up almost 50% or double what we were in the past. So it is what it is. Okay.
And we added to our supply as well if we can get all of that 1,000 gallons a minute out of 9.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
I think it was a good decision all the way around.
I do too. All right. So if everybody's good with that, we can move on. I think the next thing on the agenda was the rapid small scale column tests work plan.
Which really isn't an RSSCT work plan. It's a pilot work plan, but so similar kind of thing, not quite as small as an RSSCT, but pilot scale. So we had subcontracted with LEA to do kind of a design and a work plan of a pilot system for wells 4 and 5 at that plant. I don't know if you remember, but each one of the plants, we kind of left a blank wall, if you will, with space for a future pilot area, so that you guys would have a space to, test different medias and test whatever you might need to test, given that this is such a new and emerging kind of contaminant that we're dealing with. So LEA did a layout design schematic of a pilot columns that we could build on the wall, 4-inch diameter columns with test ports, that would mimic the 25, 50, 75% ports that we have on the vessels, so they could mimic what's on the vessel. And we looked at some different medias that we could, test in those columns. There are some new medias coming out, alternatives to GAC and resin that are being tested. There's a couple that have been tested more than others. Orange County out in California has been doing a lot of testing, and so they've tested a bunch of them, and they're actually going full scale on at least one of them. I'm not sure about the second one. So we have that work plan. We have it laid out. We've asked them to give us a cost to build the pilot, and then Brian was also looking at, you know, trying to see if that was something that they thought they could, you know, they could do, you could do in-house, or how much effort that would take, you know, versus manpower available kind of thing, you know, trying to balance that out.
So I see some of these are listed, some of these media that you're proposing to test. So are these, I know media 1 and 2 are specifically called out as GAC. Is media 3, 4, and 5, what are those? Are those not?
Those are some of the new medias. Like, I know that the Fluorosorb is probably the furthest along as far as I know. That's like a clay-based media. That's one that I think they have gone full scale out on the West Coast with that one. The other two, the ClaroSafe is like, I don't know, some kind of nanoparticle material. And I don't recall what the Dexorb was. I know there's other systems that have tried, you know, done that in some of their testing, you know, when they've been testing for
right.
So those are just some medias, you know, that we've, you know, made contact with. We know are out there that we could test. You could also test other GACs in there. We could test resin, you know, it's really up to
questions. Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask, is I know from what I've seen around in Massachusetts, the Purolite PFA 694E resin, PFAS selective resin, that seems to be used pretty frequently. Mm-hmm. And so I remember there was also, are these are not rapid small scale column tests where you have to like shave down the particles to get them and fit in the thing? No,
because you can't, right. You know, you can't do RSSCT. Well, in theory, the resin manufacturers say you can't do an RSSCT with their media because, you know, it's a plastic bead. You can't.
Right.
You can't grind it down. I know people who have and have tested it. And, you know, I don't know how those results, if they're valid or not, but people have tried to do it. So no, this would be a full pilot. So it would be, you know, a 4-inch diameter pipe. You know,
okay,
like, you know, 1/16 of an inch tube kind of thing. So the media would go in there, and you know, it would run in parallel with the plant, and would probably take maybe not quite as long as the plant to break through, but you know, we're talking months to a year or more, you know, of monitoring to see how it performs. You know, just check how a media would perform.
So basically you would just kind of change the flow rate if you wanted to get a different empty bed contact time model, right?
Right. I mean, right. And these were laid out for 10. So,
right.
You know,
so that's why I was just thinking about that Purolite resin, because their literature says you need a 3-minute empty bed contact time.
Right. Yeah.
So I was just thinking if we wanted to look at that resin, would we be able to, I think, just increase the flow rate to get less contact time through that?
Right, I think that's how it would do it. Now, the issue that the manufacturers had with the resin was the chloride levels. So
the chloride levels?
Yeah, I mean, we could, you know, it's something we could try, but that's why we didn't pursue the resins that far when we were doing the design, is because the chloride levels were too high for the resin.
Yeah. Well, there's a site that I'm working on in Massachusetts, and the chloride is like 600.
Really?
And that resin, it's a small condo building with a public water supply well, but we got a throughput warranty on that from Purolite. It wasn't really high, but I guess I'm just wondering if that's something worth testing, because I think those resins remove the short chains a lot better than carbon, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, they're supposed to
too. Yeah.
Well, for most of them, I mean, they still come through in the same order, you know. So your PFBA is still going to be your first breakthrough.
Right.
I mean, but I think you do get a little bit longer, not a ton longer on the real short chains like those, you know, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in general, the resins are supposed to have, you know, a longer life, a little bit better short chain removal, you know, not stellar, but better than the GAC, but
Right.
they cost 10 times what the GAC does, you know, so you.
I was just going to say, we shouldn't look at time, but dollar, right?
Well, right, and so, you know, but it's hard to put a dollar to it until you know what kind of life you're going to get out of it.
Right, sure.
Right.
Right.
That's why you would pilot it.
So that's what kind of led me to think there's a lot of unknowns how the chloride really affects the resin, and then what kind of life expectancy you would get from the resin. It's all kind of based on just projections. No one's actually tested it. So that's why I'm kind of, and from the cost comparisons I've been doing in Massachusetts, it's actually less O&M in the long run to use resin because the projections are like 5 years instead of a year or a year and a half or 2 years with carbon. Even though the cost is higher, the volume is 3 times less because the empty bed contact time is 3 instead of 10. You know, so I don't know, it seems to all, it kind of equaled out on paper for some of these other sites I've worked on with Purolite. Joe Klimek, I think that's probably the guy you know too.
Yep, that's who we worked with, yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I know.
No, I think it would be worth looking at, you know, because like you say, there's so many variables, you know, I mean, on one hand, you do lose part of the advantage of resin, if you will, because, you know, part of the advantage is that you have the lower empty bed contact time, you have smaller vessels, you have a smaller building footprint, you know, so kind of lost out on that part, you know.
Yeah, because we're already built, right?
Because we're already built with a, you know, with a full-size vessel that'll handle the GAC, you know,
right.
because that was the, you know, the more preferred technology at the time and proven and, you know, worked, and the more conservative, because you can always go from GAC to resin, but you can't go from resin to GAC, right? So, you know, we lose off on that part of it. But like you said, you know, you've got more expensive media, but it lasts longer. If the media, you know, what's the cost ratio of the media? You know, is it 5 times more than the GAC? Is it 10 times more than the GAC? And then does it last 5 times longer or 10 times longer? You know,
right.
There's a lot of variables in there, and until we do some testing and find out if it's even feasible, you know,
right,
we don't know for sure. So I think it's definitely worth looking at. You know, one of the medias that you might want to consider.
Yeah.
These aren't in stone. I mean, these are just, you know, some of them that we talked about.
Yeah, sure.
Hypothetically, we could test.
So will we think about substituting that for one of these 5 or adding one? I don't know how much space we got to work with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you'd probably do a certain amount of columns and then decide what you want to, what you know, which medias you want to put in those columns.
Right.
You know, because I think they want to use one as a
control. Yeah.
Control, you know.
So they got 6 listed
to try and map.
Right. So what's number 1? Is that the media we're currently using?
Yeah, that would be the control.
Well, I think they got an empty column for control. Number 6, it says control column empty, no media. I'm just kind of wondering why we would be testing the media we already have. Was that considered like another control or something? I mean, we already have data on the actual media, so I don't know.
But not on that scale.
Right. I think it's to try and compare this, you know, to see how that scales to the full scale, you know. So if the pilot with a GAC in it operates differently than the full scale pilot, then we know there's, you know, some.
You can make those. Yeah. All right. I guess I see that then.
That was their recommendation.
I mean, so really only 2 comments I had was the resin, which I'm more in favor of the resin. And the other thing was the good old zeolite that we talked about a year or 2 ago.
I was going to bring that up too. I think we should. Yeah,
I don't know that zeolite, is it not NSF approved?
I don't know. I thought they had done some testing because LEA has done some testing with them. And
It wasn't.
I thought it didn't pan out.
Yeah, so I don't know where it is now.
That's what I thought.
I thought it didn't pan out. Removal
Really?
was what I heard. I don't know. I haven't seen any official.
Well, we have somebody in town that is very familiar with PFAS that is using zeolite as a part of their house and has been for the last year and a half. It's probably the most informed person here in the whole damn, sorry, I shouldn't use the word, but in the whole town, in the whole subject. So, and that person's pretty comfortable with zeolite. So,
and they've been testing.
What's that? Yeah,
they've been testing.
Yeah, they have been. Yeah.
I don't know what any results are like, though. I'm not aware of any results on that, but
good enough that it was still brought up maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Huh. So,
and correct me, the EPA just came out with advisory, right? Where they added some more PFAS, like Jet X and
PFPA.
Yeah. They've also lowered the health advisories down to parts per quadrillion, which we can't even measure yet. But, you know, that for PFOA, PFOS, I think. But yeah, they did come out with PFBA, health advisory. I don't know. I guess if we're at the point here of approving this column study, I just want to make sure we have input on what we want to test, basically.
Yep.
So I don't know if we want to make a decision tonight what to move forward on.
I have a couple of questions about that. So for one, what role is LEA playing in all of this? With them presenting certain manufacturers' products, are they like a reseller or something? Are they, is this a sales effort? Or?
No, their scope of work was just to do strictly a work plan. So look at what we have, look at what we've got for the facility, what would you recommend, and sizing wise, and pieces and parts to build a column test here.
And they did that on behalf of Underwood because you guys were too busy, or that's not your expertise?
Just because they're more experienced in piloting. They do a lot of pilot testing work. We don't. We usually subcontract that work out. So they're more the specialists in that. That's why we had them kind of design the pilot.
Right.
And the manufacturer stuff was just, they're just medias that we know are around now and have been tested. And we had a phone call with ClaroSafe and we had a phone call with Fluorosorb just to find out more about the media and, what is it and what have you done? And like I say, they're in different stages. We first talked to Fluorosorb, when we were designing 7 and 8 or 2. I mean, we actually tried to get some. We were going to try and throw it into the RSSCT for 2. We couldn't work out the whole non-disclosure agreement and all that sort of thing. So at that time, they were testing some out in California, and now those tests have wrapped up and they're actually going full scale. I think they have their NSF approval, so they're kind of pretty much ready for prime time now. I think the other ones I don't know. I haven't talked to them in a while, so I don't know where they're at in the process. But like I say, they're just medias that we know are around now, and other people are starting to test them. When they're looking at options. So that's why they were put on the list. There could be more that we haven't found yet.
So are they basically complete in their scope of work by presenting this?
Yep.
Okay. So
and I have asked them for a cost to build it. So if you want to have them,
that's what I was going to ask.
Bring it in or whatever, they could do that, or you can hire a contractor to do it, or your guys can do it or whatever. But just to for comparison, I did ask them to provide a price, and they're working on that.
Right.
And once installed, this would be available for permanent use, right? So as new media comes into play, so no matter what, we have a long-term value from this, right?
Yeah, that was the plan. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So they're going to build it and leave it. We're not renting the columns from them or anything. Right. Yeah. Okay.
And as far as the price, we have no actual quote for this so far, right?
No, we haven't gone to that step yet.
Okay. It's a bummer.
Is this something like they could build and then our staff at that point is just making sure the pressure gauges and the flow rates are in line and sampling, right?
Right. And I think, I mean, if we want to continue to use LEA, that's what we would do is, you know, probably have them help start it up. And, you know, then Brian and the guys would be, you know, your staff would be monitoring it and grabbing samples and, you know,
right,
that sort of thing from then out, just because that's a long, I mean, you're talking a long-term, you know, slow process, grabbing monthly samples or something, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe more frequently for other field testable constituents, but you know,
I don't think it's not in a budget anywhere either, is it? I don't think the budget is that I remember.
No, not from going forward. I mean, believe we budgeted to have this work done.
Yeah.
So we've already expended that. And
yeah.
We have to, depending on what I mean, we do have other engineering in the budget that we can, there's always something that comes up that we can go to. So
well, I think it makes sense to get a proposal to build 6 of these columns.
Like to know how much.
I'm not sure. Sounds like we're saying we might want to know what the zeolite does and what the resin can do. So I'm not sure if we're better off substituting one of these 5 to fit those 2 in instead.
Yep.
Or do these 5 maybe a few of these show more promise than the zeolite?
Well, I mean, I would say, I think the first one I'd knock out is another GAC, because we did test quite a bit of GACs during the through the RSSCT process. So I don't know if we need to pilot them.
Right.
You know, that would be the first one I'd swap out for a resin. And then, you know, I guess I would say I'd want to look more into the Clarosafe and the Dexorb, just because I'm not as familiar with those and see where they are in the process. You know, are they approved? Are they ready to go full scale, or are they still in the experimental process?
Yeah, because that's another thing. If we test something and if it does work, if it's not NSF approved, we can't use it, right? I mean, we kind of would have to wait for that approval to come around, and that can take a while.
Right.
I know, if ever.
Right.
So I'm kind of leery about moving forward on zeolite if it's not NSF approved either. But
is there a way we can find out?
Yeah.
I mean, at least find out whether or not it's approved or not.
Right. So Lynette, you said this company might have tested some zeolite in the past.
I think they did some testing with I can't remember who was the company that was talking to you guys back when we were.
Oh, it was
doing
Niles
Niles Group or whatever. Yeah, I think Scott said that they did some testing with them.
Well, I mean, it's as simple as maybe Ron reaching out to them and asking.
The only problem is every time I've ever asked them for test results, everything's confidential, and they can never. They today to this day have never released the study to me. So that's like a red flag. But so I bet you if you ask Luero, this company, they're probably going to say we can't release it to you because it's confidential.
Probably. Right.
So.
Well, if they want to do business.
If they want to do business, we need to see something, and we'll sign a confidentiality clause.
I think you're right. I think it's going to have to come from Niles Company or whatever, because that would be like somebody calling us up and asking for your results. We'd have to ask your permission. We wouldn't release something without getting your permission to do it first. So I would think it would be similar. Right. They're not going to give us.
Give Lou a call.
Yeah, just at least find out if it's NSF approved, or if he's in the process of getting NSF approved, because that's a major undertaking from what I understand.
We have to keep moving on.
Yeah. All right. So so Ron, you're going to follow up with Lou, see if it's NSF approved. Lynette, you can follow up with Luero and see if there's any studies that they have done, and if so, if they can't release them to us, maybe we can follow up with Niles and see if we can get, even if they redact the name of the facility and just give us like the data or something after 4 years of going through this with getting nothing, we should have something by now. I hope. And then I guess get a proposal from Luero, however you say their name, for building for building these columns.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what level of engineering and assessment they want to do on the results, but if you guys are comfortable, because I mean, at that point, it's just kind of plotting the data, right? And trying to make some conclusions. So, I mean, I'll leave that up to you if you want to take some of that on without having to bring them in to summarize the data.
I think that's where we'd pick it back up. They don't really make as much of an assessment on it as we would. We would do the engineering assessments to support decisions once they get the data to us. I will add, I just went back and looked up my notes too on zeolite, but there was a pilot study on zeolite that was getting started back in the fall of 20. So that's 2 years ago almost, using zeolite. So we'll ask them if that data at least was also or is available. So
yeah, that would be great. All right, so maybe we can pick this up at the next meeting and see if we've got some made any progress on that.
Sounds good.
All right, sounds good. Anybody else have the only other thing I saw on here is there's some places where they were talking about testing method 533 and then other places 537. So I don't know if that's
okay.
I don't know if there's a disconnect.
I think it might have been 537, and then I think that was one of my comments back to them on the draft was that you guys were using 533. So maybe it didn't get changed everywhere.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that. So anything else on that? We can guess we can move forward, right?
We're going to jump to old business. So with UEI about Wilson 5 medium.
Yeah. So since it's not on the agenda, we'll jump to new business. And that is a letter for apparent premature breakthrough of PFOA through lead vessel at wells 4 and 5. And
yep.
We have an email, or we were sent an email from you, Lynette, that we read.
So in April, when the April results came in, that was the first time we saw PFOA in the lead vessel effluent at just over 2 parts. So below MCL, but above detection. And that was earlier than we anticipated because it had been running pretty much 5 months per port. So we had hit 75% port. It had broken through that the month before, and then it jumped to the effluent pretty quickly. So the breakthrough was at 48,000 bed volumes. Your warranty is for 60,000 bed volumes. So the warranty requires, if that happens and you break through, that you do a repeat sample. So the May samples came, as soon as we found that out, Jill and company went out and grabbed the May samples, which also had the PFOA in the lead vessel effluent up to a little over 4 parts, which again is still below MCL. And you're still below MCL in the 75% port. So what seems to be happening is the 75% port and the effluent port seem to be operating very close together, whereas the upper ports there was like 6 months between breakthroughs, and the lower ports seem to be those two, the 75 and the effluent, seem to be operating pretty closely together. So you're still getting quite a bit of removal in the lower half of the vessel, but it has broken through. You're still getting full removal of PFOA and the lag vessel. In fact, the only thing you have coming out in the effluent is the PFBA in the finished water, and that's been that way since think November was when that broke through. And that's, you know, that's the one that comes through really quick.
Right.
So, you know, that's been pretty much the status quo for a while. We are sending a notification to Evoqua, sending them the data, letting them know that you've had the premature breakthrough and, you know, we're looking at a potential warranty claim, and getting their opinion on, I guess, continued operation of the system, you know, because, and Keith can talk, I mean, you know, our opinion was to keep going with it, you know, because there's still a lot of removal occurring in the lower half of that vessel. It seems like there's still a lot of kind of unused GAC there, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of take it month by month and see how it goes. Plus, this is your high flow season. You know, this is not when we want to be doing the change out, and see if we can, you know, push it into the fall.
Yeah, so I think if we do that, and it still remains our recommendation to continue to run for a couple of reasons. And the primary one is to really see what the carbon will do for the long term for you, so you can make informed decisions going forward. This is your really one chance to see what the carbon can do before changing it out. If you change it out now, we are giving up some carbon that still has some useful life in it. We're going to pursue the warranty claim for the lead vessel, and that's fine, and that we can continue to do. We only think they're going to argue that you got 80% of the warranty, so it's a prorated warranty, so we're going to get 20% potentially return. So it's not a lot of money, but we'll pursue it. Yeah. What the real decision point is that if we continue to run with the lead as it is, we're going to probably be giving up the warranty on the lag vessel, because according to the warranty, we should be swapping it out now. And so if we don't, then then we're putting more into the lag vessel than they would be comfortable with. So then we agreed to with the warranty. So that's really the one downside, is if we continue to run.
So Keith, is the warranty as soon as PFOA breaks through the lead vessel? Is that when?
I think you have to get above 2 and for 2 consecutive weeks, I think is what it was, Lynette, if I have that right, or something like that. But we're there. We are there now, but our thinking is that if we just continue to run, there's still a lot of good carbon in the lead vessel. So we're gonna. Yeah. But if we swap it out, we're giving that up, right? And that's going to cost you money, because we're not using the carbon that's still got value. So we think between that and the fact that we want to inform ourselves with what this system can do, you know, when you kind of push it, and we're not going to exceed MCLs. That's not what I'm suggesting here, or any of us are. But
I hear you, and that has merit. But we're still sending right now 9 parts per trillion of PFBA down the lines to our customers, right? Yep. So there's no two words about it. Why don't we consider? And I know it's a waste from a PFOA and other PFAS standpoint, other compound standpoint. But should we consider replacing the lag vessel, even though that's almost a bigger waste, just to enable us to continue to monitor what happens with the lead vessel?
That, I think, what we're proposing, or we're suggesting here, is that we want to get you a benchmark. And I know that you've got some non-regulated PFAS coming out, and you have for a while, but you may, and you probably will, make choices different once we've got through the first cycle of swap out. But if our feeling is, if we don't find out what this carbon's capable of, sort of to its exhaustion point, you'll never really know from a cost point of view at that as a benchmark. Right,
but does that matter? Because, you know, the warrant articles, and I have to go back what they say. I don't think
the goal was not.
Yeah, and I don't think they don't limit to the regulated compounds. So,
they don't. And if you want to be true to the warrant article, then we need to swap out now. Or we should have swapped out in November, I guess.
Should have swapped out after.
I know that. I know that. But I mean, it's getting more by the day, right? That's breaking through.
No, well, actually, it's what's the influent? It's almost the same as the PFBA influence almost the same as the effluent?
In the effluent, it's pretty much been holding. I mean, you had 7, 9.5, 10, 10.5, 9.5, 9.25 this last month. So
what's the raw water? Like, how much more can it go? You wouldn't think it would exceed the raw water unless you get that rollover.
Well, it can with some rollover, and we have been seeing a little bit of rollover. I don't have the raw water right here at my fingertips on the PFBA. I did flag it for a little bit of rollover, but when we've been looking at it, it hasn't been a ton, it's not like doubling the concentration rate.
My problem is we're not really saving, in my opinion, we're not saving any media at all, because if we're looking at the compound that is saturating the earliest, right, and breaking through the earliest, which is what the warrant articles are asking for, then we're effectively right now already contaminating. Well, we already have actually spent the lag vessel even, right?
No.
So,
well, as far as PFBA.
As far as PFBA is, yeah, because it's breaking through.
Right, and hasn't that been the discussion all the way, is if you're going to change it out based on PFBA,
sure, you're
going to be changing vessels out every 5 to 8 months, whereas if you're changing it out on a PFOA on a regulated compound, we're almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in the fall. So you're talking a significantly different bed life and cost for change out.
I think
the goal was to get data so we can present warrant articles in 2023, right? So at a minimum, I would say that we don't exceed the waiting period any longer than until we're hitting the preparation of the March meeting. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say, right? I don't want to write this out any longer than we have to, just to get data, because
I think we're opening ourselves into,
yeah,
because we're basically not honoring the warrant article.
Well, we're not, and we know about it.
Right.
It's not negligence, it's not ignorance, it's willful.
Well, let me just play another. I mean, and I know you guys got to wrestle with this, and I can be a little bit more pragmatic because I'm not in Merrimack answering to your constituents, but I just want to give you the other piece of information that you could be looking at. But the warrant article, as I understand it, said we want to reduce PFAS. I think the word was reduce, or
I thought it was reduce it to non-detect.
With the goal of non-detect. Okay. It said to reduce. There was no discussion of goals in the actual warrant article.
That might have been
word reduced.
Yeah.
Because I typed it up, so I know what I put in it.
And let me just so the words were to reduce PFAS, and PFAS was all of them. I think it didn't say if you had one breaking through, you shall change out. And this is just, let me just share my thoughts, because at the end of the day, we are reducing the PFAS, like by a lot. I mean, if you look at the trend charts, you can say that we're reducing it by, 90% or more, depending on what the influent concentrations are. And if you put, we're basically reducing everything except one compound. So it's that's the other side of it. So I know it's a tough interpretation, and I know it can be an emotional thing too, but there is that part of it, because it's going to come down to money. We could be swapping these things out every 5 months, and those rates we just talked about will not be 12% next year. And what I've been arguing is, let's find out the data so you can be well informed when you go to the voters and say, you know what, it's going to be 5 month swap outs from here on out. We're going to meet this goal, and it's going to be a X rate increase to do it. Because right now the 12% is not based on a 5 month swap out. So, but if that's what we need to do, because that's what the board and the voters or the residents want to do, and I'm not saying you can't and you shouldn't, there's just going to be another piece of information that needs to come with it, and that's the cost part.
I do have the petition here in front of me, and it doesn't say anything to non-detect. It says to reduce iron, manganese, and polyfluoroalkyl substance PFAS, including oil.
I think in our presentations, we in the slides, we said the goal is for non-detect of all PFAS, but I think it doesn't say that in the actual warrant article. The other thing I'll say is, several months ago when PFBA first broke through the lag vessel, we had a discussion and we said, well, the rest of our water is not treated. Let's use this as a test to see how it performs with PFOA. So I think we decided to let it run and continue to have the PFBA break through into the drinking water for the time being in order to collect more data so that we can have a better assessment of preparing a warrant article for next year. So as far as I'm concerned, nothing's changed since then. PFBA was breaking through then, it still is now. The only thing that's different now is PFOA broke through faster than we thought. But I don't think that affects anything that we discussed previously about the PFBA issue. I think those are kind of two separate issues. So I guess I'm still in favor of proceeding the way we had anticipated to. And my only question is, when should we consider changing the media because of PFOA? But if that's already going to affect the warranty on the second vessel, like if that's already affecting the warranty on the second vessel, I don't know what we can do about that. I don't really know what the warranty is going to do for us anyways. I mean,
the warranty is important to consider as in the decision, but I do worry that we're making operational decisions, to save $1, and we may not even save $1 at the end of the day. Because our thinking is if you push these carbons, you're actually trying to exhaust all of it instead of getting rid of it early. And we still think there's some value in the carbon you have now, and probably a lot of that would offset whatever you might get after a fight with Evoqua for a warranty return. So it seems like a great opportunity to really find out what the value of this carbon is. And then the next round, when you talk to your constituents and they say, well, we don't want any of this stuff in there. Okay, 5-month swap outs. We know what we're doing and it's going to cost this much compared to what we had thought before when you're running it at 2 years or near it.
so I'm not really sure we know even what the swap out's going to cost right now, right? How much does that fluctuate? Is that bouncing all over, up and down 30% inflation?
According to the agreement with St. Germain, aren't they responsible for the first 5 years?
106,000 of it. 106,000 of it. Yep.
Yeah, so that money is in our escrow and we can kind of spend it whenever, excuse me, we decide to swap the resin out. Yeah, you're right. So obviously the longer we can make it last, the better we are, in the long run. But at the same time, you got stuff breaking through going into the drinking water. Well, let me ask you this other question. If we change out the lead vessel at well 4 and 5 now, how long do those wells, do they have to go offline for that? Because
we figured you lose them for a week or two, I think is what we thought about. But, it'd be a tough time to do it now. We were targeting an early potential swap out of fall. And we learned that, I think today, Lynette, we learned that it's about a 1 month, 2 month minimum, 1 month preferred lead time to get scheduled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they gave us some time, and it depends. I mean, it'll be down while we take the carbon out. You could potentially put it back online with just the lag vessel only, while the carbon's out for a couple of weeks getting regenerated and being returned, and then it would have to go down again while you load the vessel, condition it, and all that sort of thing again,
So wait, the process is not that it gets replaced. The problem is that the original carbon gets regenerated and delivered back.
You can replace it. That's an option, is to buy new carbon and then dispose of the existing carbon you have, but it's less expensive to regenerate it.
No, we were talking about a swing load too, right?
That's what I thought.
We talked about a swing load. So I actually talked to DES. We can operate off the lag vessel, and because that gives you there's protection there. So they're not, you don't need the lead lag per se
all the time, 100%.
Exactly, for them to say that you can't run it or run it. We can potentially run it. in the time frame that we're getting it regened or if
Rejuvenated.
rejuvenated. So we're under the impression when we're looking at the swing loads that we would have to operate in a lead lag situation, but that's not the case. So the prices that are in the budget that we've worked into the budget are for regen.
Without having a swing load.
Correct.
Just a little risky if they don't turn it around quick enough and all that, I guess.
And then the swing load's a little different in the sense that each treatment plant requires a different volume of material. So even though 4.5 and 2.9 have 12-foot diameter vessels, there's more carbon in the 4.5 vessels than the 2 vessels. And then when you're looking at 7 and 8, you got a lot more volume in that than you do either of them. So when you're looking at what do you have for swing load, what do you it's not just the same volume in each vessel.
Right.
So that's one thing. You also have with if you're not going to one of the things we were looking at was a regenerated carbon, because then you don't have the legacy issues of having to take it and take it to a landfill and all that kind of stuff. And what kind of legacy do you have on that? And do you take on any responsibility to putting that into a landfill that if it does contaminate something else? So then by, bringing it over and having it destructed, you get a certification of destruction of the PFAS, and then you're getting that carbon back. So, so that's a good thing. You do probably want to, once you do take the carbon out and then you bring it back for regen, you probably do want to be running that plant while it's gone, because that could be gone for 2 weeks and you don't want bacteria to build up in that vessel that's still there. So you do want to run that some amount of time while it's gone. And, if you run it to waste or you run it into the system,
you'd have to flush it, but we wouldn't have to run it continuously.
No, you would not.
Daily. But if you need, if you want the water, I think you could run it, just run through the lag vessel. The other thing to consider is kind of the issue that we had at 7 and 8 is if you get new carbon, now you've got to condition the full load of carbon. If you've got your regenerated carbon coming back, you only have a portion of it that's, virgin makeup that you've got to condition and get whatever is on there rinsed off. So I guess it's less likely to have an issue like we did at 7 and 8.
Well, you would hope that we don't have that. You would hope that we don't have that iron problem every single time we buy PFAS. I'm sorry. We get the PFAS for free, guys. Have at it. No, so one thing I still don't get. So I'm reading here, effluent from the lead vessel is 4.35 parts per trillion PFOA, right? So, and the argument here is being made that there's still PFOA removal taking place within the lead vessel, right? But we're still now beginning to saturate the lag vessel anyway.
So we're gonna.
So either way, right? I mean, I don't get the thinking behind that, to be honest. And I know we talked about this before, and I didn't get it before. When we start having any breakthrough of the lead vessel, my claim is it doesn't matter if we replace it now or later, because if we don't replace it now, the only thing we have to do is we have to replace the lag vessel.
So the time we're saving now is just going to be time we're losing in the next.
Yeah, vessel. Absolutely. I don't see anything I understand your argument that you want to gain clarity of how much we can load onto the GAC. I understand that, but since we have those different levels of breakthrough. And I understand that your argument is that PFBA isn't regulated, right? And we don't have a mandate necessarily right now to spend that money to decide when to replace the lead vessel based on PFBA, but we certainly have it for PFOA. So why would we want to wait now if we're already bleeding through from the lead vessel?
Yeah, and the answer I'll give you is that this is the opportunity to find out. There still is carbon in lead vessel that's available to you that we think is giving benefit. If you get rid of it now, you're not going to know what that is. So the only answer, that I've sort of put in my thinking is that we're going to find out. This is going to give you that benchmark. You push this carbon a little further than maybe you're going to ever push it again. You're going to know what that delta truly is.
I hear you, but isn't that, no offense, and I'm an engineer too, isn't that an academic question?
I think it's going to be a real answer when you run it this way, because then you're going to, this is the opportunity to do it, because then next time you're not going to do it, and then you're going to know what the difference is.
But value, what value do we get out of that answer if we already know that the media is spent right now? I
think the value you're going to get is that at some point there's going to be a cost benefit discussion that you're going to have. And maybe you're not. Maybe this is where I'm missing it, Wolf, because that this is just going to be so costly that you're going to have some, tougher decisions on operations. That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is we may not be able to afford changing it when PFBA breaks through.
No, and the only argument that I can see is if one day we decide that we want to polish the PFBA, the short chains off with another media, right? Putting a resin filter or something. That would be the only argument that I would buy right now, because.
Well, Wolf, so right now, for example, this last month, your influent, your blended influent was running around 66 parts. Coming through the 50% port, you were 40 parts. So even in that upper half of the vessel that's technically spent, right, because PFOA is going through it, you're still getting 20 parts removal in there. And
Sure.
Then in the lower part of the vessel, the PFOA was, what was it? It was 8 at the 75% port, and it was 4 coming out of the vessel. So
4 was going into the drinking water?
There's 4 is going into the second vessel. So even though you are loading your second vessel with PFOA right now, you're loading it at 4 parts, not at 66 parts like coming into the lead vessel. So you're still getting a lot of removal, especially in that lower half of that vessel, So
yeah,
it seems like there's usable capacity there.
I understand all of that, but it doesn't change the fact that we are really contaminating the lag vessel. So we're wasting that while we're now wasting 2 vessels, right? Or two volumes of media, right? Because
if you move the second vessel to the lead position, you're now gonna start loading it at 66 parts instead of at 4 parts.
Yeah, but from a PFBA standpoint, we're still loading, we're still bleeding through.
Well, right, that's a done deal. That's gone.
Yeah.
That's going through, right?
Right.
But I'm talking about your PFOA. You're still getting some removal in that first vessel, but if you flip it, you're going to be loading it right onto the second vessel.
So the only thing I would say is what we're tripping over here, trying to figure out what's the best solution. There's already other places ahead of us. I know in Massachusetts, they want you to change the lead vessel when it breaks through to half the MCL. We're not anywhere near that. Well, we are kind of near that. We're almost at 6 because we're at 4. In the settlement agreement with Saint-Gobain, which doesn't match the warranty, by the way, it said in the settlement agreement to change the vessel when the PFBA breaks through to half of the influent.
PFBA?
PFOA breaks through half of the influent. I said PFBA. Yeah. PFOA. So that would be like change it when it's breaking through at like 30 or 33 or something, which may end up being where we're going to be at if we wait till fall. But then our warranty's gone, right? So I don't really know how to reconcile that.
Well, and keep in mind, your warranty will be gone your lag vessel warranty will probably be gone if we continue to operate the way we're operating right now. So if we don't swap out, like Wolf's suggesting, you're going to give up that lag warranty. So that is also a disadvantage. The lead you've already got. We can go chase whatever value is in the lead, but
right. I don't know. I knew this is always going to be a hard decision to make, and we've been kind of kicking the can down the road for a couple of years now. But
well, it seems like too that in the near future the regulations might get even tougher. So
well, that's another thing. Yeah.
Well, but why wouldn't we, for example, can't we talk with the worker and say, okay, listen, guys, we want to continue using the lead vessels to gain that data, right? It's in their interest too, because they gain data as well, right? So let's talk to them and say, okay, we get a hell of a deal on the lag vessel and replace the lag vessel sooner rather than later to capture the breakthrough of the lead vessel, right? And in exchange, we're not going after them for the lag vessel for the warranty, you know? Let's reach out to them and come up with a business deal that makes sense for everybody, and still keeps the water, you know, down to non-detect within the limits that we can achieve. Just, you know, be a little bit more creative. I mean, you know, not you, but us collectively. Let's be a little bit more creative here and reach out to them and say, listen, this is the situation. Your warranty is failing. We have no interest right now in claiming that warranty, but we also don't want to have that stuff in our water to our voters, right? To our voters, to our ratepayers. And you know, settle for one instead of two.
I don't know if I want to give up any warranty claim on the first vessel.
No, but the second one, we're going to give it up if we let the first one keep going, right? So let's talk to them now and say we're going to claim one vessel worth warranty, right? Clearly, you violate or your product doesn't achieve it. And I know we're giving a lot of filtration potential on the lag vessel away. I recognize that, but not from a short chain standpoint, and not from an end user standpoint. The end user doesn't care what's regulated, right?
They will when their bill goes up.
Possibly, we don't know that. We don't know that
50%. You know, we don't know that because we don't have the data.
But when you talk to people, initially they want that stuff out of the water.
It depends who you talk to.
Well,
I know, I agree. Yeah. It's just at what cost?
Sure.
I want to stop paying pennies. I want to just drink the water.
Well, if you were to swap out now, whether it's lead, lag, or whatever we do, you're still got, we still have, until everything's online, we still have stuff in the water, which is also why we were thinking this is the opportunity to do it. Because once you get everything online, your water is, you're going to be working towards the lowest PFAS you guys want to pay for.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know how you want to leave this. I think, Dawn, you sort of said it, the decisions we made a couple of months ago, the only thing we've seen difference is a little faster PFOA movement and lead, because the other breakthrough in the lag is still there and sort of stable. But we had left it that we were going to target a change out in the fall looking at the September, October timeframe. And we could still do that. It's 2 or 3 months away. But we just need to know if that's not, if you're going to want to do something sooner. And this could change next month if the data looks.
Yeah, if the PFOA starts coming through.
Yeah, I mean, this is just based on what we think is going to happen. But, the data may change our decision, but that's what we've been targeting right now.
I don't know. I think we should maybe split the difference and target something August, September.
Well, I think, September, given this conversation, I think August would be tough because of your high demands, but
yeah. I mean, that's another thing is I don't want to starve the system either and end up having, everybody have to shut off the irrigation because we're switching out the media, and there's going to be a whole uproar of that again.
Well, I didn't hear earlier that we are planning firmly to do this before. I heard earlier we're going to keep looking at the data.
That's true.
We were targeting. I wouldn't say you're right, Wolf. It wasn't a plan to firmly do that. It was a preparation to be prepared to do it in September. But we were not looking at doing anything sooner than that, I guess is the better way to
I think we were expecting we were going to need to do it by September or something, based on the projections of what we were seeing at 25, 50, and 75.
Right.
I think it was going to hit 75 and go boom right out the bottom of the filter either right away, which is what happened,
Exactly.
And we didn't want to go through the winter because we couldn't really safely swap it out in the winter because of the freezing. So we knew we had to do it in a September, October, November
Okay.
time.
Okay.
I chime in?
Please.
So we're talking about breakthrough of a non-regulated compound, right?
Well, that's one of the topics. But PFOA is regulated and that broke through faster than we anticipated.
The lead vessel.
The lead vessel.
Lead vessel. There's nothing in that Warren article that says that we have to produce PFAS-free water. And
Not in the wording.
Yep, not in the wording. And that's what counts, right?
It is.
So we would be responsible to manage to the regulatory requirements, correct?
Yes.
We have to do.
I think in addition, we have to do that, but we also have to do that. From a minimum standpoint, we can't go spending money that we don't have a mandate to spend. And we don't really know a whole lot about PFBA, at least I don't, and the health effects of PFBA. It's a short chain, right?
It is, and even the reduced health advisory, I think it's still at like 1,000 parts per trillion.
Yeah,
whereas
we know that. I mean, they put that
0.004.
It seems to me that they're going to probably make those health advisories an MCL goal, and they're going to go ahead and include the costs of treating these things like they do with every other contaminant when they come up with an MCL. So honestly, I think that we would be at risk if we spent that kind of money based on our beliefs and the beliefs of a few others that we see on Facebook or here, there, or wherever. I think we have to manage this based on the mandates in front of us. And that would be even rolling average. I mean, if PFOA broke through the lag vessel and the rolling average was still below the MCL, we would not be in violation.
Good point too.
Sure.
We'd probably have to issue a notice, but it would still be. Well,
I mean, what's to stop our customers who are less concerned about PFAS to coming at us and saying, you guys are spending all this money needlessly?
Yeah.
I believe we'd be opening ourselves up. I think that we need, if we're going to follow a stricter mandate, we need a stricter mandate.
Right. To be told to us by the customers.
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be representation of more than 20 or 30 people.
Yeah, it's more than that, but that's not the point. My worry is not so much just the PFBA. My worry is that the PFOA is now contaminating the lag vessel.
Right. But that was always expected to happen, just not quite this soon. Right.
Well, yeah, what's new, like last fall, there was, some concern.
Yeah, when it first came through, well, the upper level. I guess I don't know, just if we got to like try to plan for something. If it's going to take a month to plan for it, let's plan for like September.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, or we look at
Well, then
July.
go with that one. Then when we have another month of readings too.
Yeah.
To go by.
Look at July's data and make a decision then.
Now, I do agree, the lag vessel, that's probably going to break through sooner, so that we're probably not going to get the full run out of the lag vessel. But we were never anticipating on it anyways.
No.
The lag vessel was never going to last as long as this one lead vessel. And then from then on, they're always going to have, the lag vessel is always going to be compromised because we're always going to allow some leakage through. So I guess, to try and put because we can roll this around till forever, but I would just say plan on September.
I think that was kind of the idea of collecting the data, was
Right.
to see how much we can go through into the lag.
Right.
Kind of make it work,
I mean, when we use well 2, that still has, I mean, I think last I looked, the PFBA wasn't even detected or something. So we get really low numbers on that because we're not using it, which is weird. But once we start using it, but we're not going to start using it until the end of the year. So, you know.
Oh, it should change. We've been using it off and on now. So it.
Yeah, so maybe it's going to start changing.
It could change.
I don't know, at least, you know, to give some kind of direction to everybody, how to proceed with planning for this change out.
I think what we're saying is we want to do it before winter anyways.
Oh, yeah.
We need to initiate it in September.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's consistent with what we were thinking. You know, maybe we're just targeting the sooner side of the window, and I think that's fine. When we swap this out, I can see what you're going to do next time is that once PFOA breaks through the lag, and it's going to be shorter, like we know, once the PFOA breaks through the new lead, which is the old lag, it's going to be sooner. We're going to want to look at swapping out right then. And then to me, we have some nice comparative data to say, okay, when we let stuff bleed through, like Wolf says, this is how impactful it is on that lag vessel when we turn it into a lead. And then next time we'll try it when we change out, when we see PFOA right away. So we swap it then. And now from an engineering point of view, I have something to compare and say, okay, how, you know, then we can make decisions for the long run, how we want to operate this thing. I think this makes sense.
Keith, can I ask you, is there any concern? I mean, that lag vessel would break through before our frozen winter time is over, or will that last into next summer?
Well, then we'll have the new lag, right? So this lag will be the new lead, and then we'll have fresh carbon as a lag. So based on what we're seeing, you should easily make it through the winter.
Okay.
Because of the, because that lag vessel, that new fresh that median, the lag vessel, we know how that roughly operates based on the evidence or the experience we have with this lead. We need to come up with better words maybe but yeah, I don't think that would be a problem.
I'm with you.
Yeah, okay.
Keith, I just want to ask one question about that though. So how fast did it take us to get the PFNA through the lead vessel? And if we broke through the lag vessel in November of 21, we went online in October of 20. So that was 13 months. So if you said half of that, we're breaking, we go through a vessel in, 6.5 months. So if that is the case and we change over in September, that means, end of March, early April, you're going to be seeing that PFNA probably going through.
PFBA.
You're right, but I am thinking, so my mindset on this whole thing is reduction of PFAS. We have one breakthrough and we're still getting 95%, 99% reduction of PFAS. I understand that this board and the town's going to decide whether ultimately that PFBA is going to be an issue and we're going to swap it out. But that was, just to be clear, I was really looking at the regulated compounds when I answered John's question.
I was just clarifying that because it's it's going to be right at the end of the winter. Yeah.
I think my comment was more related to the regulated compounds.
Oh yeah, I did agree with that one then too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we'll plan on swapping that out in September, and if you guys want to start setting that up, hopefully we won't run into delays.
I think it's just kind of going back to the other discussion about being test site. This proves that maybe we do need to find something in the long term, a better solution, as new technologies improve.
Can I just mention something along those lines? So today I got an email from Battelle, and they're claiming to be able to destroy PFAS at the source using a supercritical fluid technique. And I forwarded that to all of you today. So take a look at your email and see if you think, in your educated opinion, it's something that's of interest to us.
I didn't see that, but yeah, I'll look at it.
Like, I just saw it as we were starting, so I sent it out.
I didn't get to read it yet, but you did send it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, could you also send that to us too? If
I believe I did in the second.
Oh, you did?
try.
Okay, okay, great, thanks.
I think I sent it to you and Keith.
All right, good. So are we good on this discussion?
Plenty.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just be targeting a September swap out at this point unless we see significant changes in the data we don't like.
Right.
Nice thing if you shoot for September, for some reason there's an issue where everything's a supply issue these days, at least then if it's October, we're still in the,
We're still before winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully a drought doesn't hit between now and then. All right. Was there anything else? I know one of the next items on the agenda is the possible grant from NHDES to extend main lines to private well areas affected by PFAS. I know that was the Zoom that we were on, Peter, with DES. I forget her name.
Amy Russo?
Yeah, Amy Russo.
Amy.
Yeah.
So this was kind of brought to my attention from Counselor Nancy Murphy, and it kind of fits in with Ron at the last meeting. Mentioned that what was the name of that road? Was looking to some people with private wells that were looking to connect. It's off of Natticook. I can't think of it.
And
yeah, was it Paul Mary?
I believe.
Yeah. So basically, there's some grant money available also to individual well owners to connect to public water supply, but there's no public water supply for them to connect to yet. There's also grant money available for MVD if we wanted to extend mains to our water mains to certain private wells that were contaminated that needed to be treated or connected to public water. So anyways, I know there was some information that Amy was supposed to put together to try to see where in Merrimack, like it would make the most sense to connect the most wells or the worst contaminated wells. Because the grant money was going to run out pretty short. What was it, $1 million?
1.5, I think.
1.5. And that was going to buy us roughly a mile of pipe.
A little less than a mile, yeah.
Less than a mile. So it's kind of like, where do we want to prioritize doing that? So I don't know if there's more information that you can provide us on that at all.
Peter, how many homes are they? How many homes would it be connected?
Well, we don't know where we want to do it, actually.
Yeah, noted.
We haven't even got them over the map yet. We're still looking at our GIS. We get Kristen working on that, but it's 2 years out of date. So there's definitely not.
Right. So our distribution map needed to be updated because we don't even have that current.
We're in the process of doing the conversion to different software as well. So
yeah,
things been put aside so that you only have to put it into one system.
Okay.
And so they're trying to get working on that, but they just did training. 2 did training 2 weeks ago. 1 did training last week, and then 2 more this week.
So I know from our Zoom call, Amy said there was a concentration of wells up by Mason and Farmer Roads, I think. And
yeah, she was mentioning it. She was mentioning a lot of different areas that
there were,
yeah.
And then this Paul Mary's one of them.
Yeah, was she going to send us those maps first, or we? I'm trying to. I don't remember now.
No, she was going to over. You were going to send the maps to her, then she was going to overlay it. Yeah.
Right. Did our existing distribution map ever get sent? Anything get sent to her? Because I thought we were going to send what we have, and then
the one that we have from NRDC. So
I didn't. Did you? You didn't? All right.
Oh, you did.
I don't think I sent it to Amy. Did I?
Yeah, right after the meeting.
Well,
I can
I don't
double
know.
check.
I thought I was gonna kind of leave this to the paid employees to kind of handle. So nothing's happened since that Zoom meeting, apparently. All right,
And
So,
then
well, we're not looking into our. trying to get-
updating our own map, yeah,
Yes.
but Amy was trying to get
Well, I
something
wonder
to
if
us.
we Do something quicker. I wonder if she can give us a map. Amy.
New Hampshire DSS is not gonna help out in the help in, or Stinkabane, the funding
Look at it,
to
just
connection,
even if we
would this
take
be
This map and update this. and
all through that
back.
grant?
Well, the grant is what DES is administering.
Oh, okay.
No, Saint-Gobain, this is outside their GMZ, so they're running to the hills,
Oh,
right?
Let me ask you a question to help. And I wasn't on the call because I couldn't make it, but I wonder if Amy would fund engineering services to help you with this. And I just know her group is pretty flexible with that. And if it helps, we could put a scope together and you could pass it by Amy. And, if they pay for it, then we can do it.
I believe she said it could be all rolled into the grant. Yeah.
And they may pay for a short, a near term, engineering service just to get some, not only a map together, but an estimated costs for 2 or 3 options. And then you pick one, and if she's willing to pay for that, then that would maybe be the most helpful way to get it done quickly. Just as an option.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head from our discussions that I think the only 2 areas that we probably could feasibly do with that money would either be Paul Mary, Gerard, or Mason Road area. Because it's,
I think,
looking at the
yeah,
map and I know
I
our
remember
grade
that
zone was way at the end. It was over a mile to get to, I believe, the properties that are.
yeah. And then there was a discussion about a lot of bedrock there that would have to be blasted. I don't know what Mason and Farmer roads look like, but
There's probably a reason why there isn't water there, so I would imagine there might be some.
well, I mean, on the one
Might be
hand,
some ledge,
if
but-
we've already had some people reach out to us,
Yeah.
asking us about this, that they're willing to connect to our system if we're willing to run the pipes to them. Maybe we look at Paul Mary. I don't know if that's going to take up a whole mile of pipe, but I don't think it would.
I
don't think it's that long, but
no.
I just kind of would like to move forward on this with some kind of progress. And I don't want to put it all off while we update our map, because we don't, there's other.
That's what I'm thinking. We'll give Amy a call tomorrow, see if we can't get the areas that she was going to overlay. And I'll put it on to like this map we have in the conference room here. And I can kind of come up with an area to get a jump start on it, not waiting for the GIS.
Okay.
Peter, what are you using? We're using unit foot cost, probably around the $400 a foot for budgeting.
I just $350. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, why don't we do that? Okay. I thought there would be more to report. That's all right. At least we can, we're talking about it now. So, so from that, we can get, I'm just wondering about, moving forward on applying for the grant, when that could be ready. Probably July or August or something. There was some kind of timeline here that I thought was critical too, but maybe not, because we already missed the funding that was due June 1st or something, right? The grant applications. So that there was no chance of that happening, obviously. So I don't know when the next one is. Do you guys know that?
I think the PFAS, she's using the PFAS revolving fund, I believe, or the trust funds, one or the other. But the SRF was the one that passed on June 1st, which I think was probably the least likely to support what you're talking about. So I don't know. I think that I know the trust funds is revolving, and I think the PFAS might be too. I'd have to check. But,
I think that is, and the PFAS has a 2-step application. Yeah. Like there's almost like a I can't remember, an eligibility request, I think they call it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a quick one, and then if they approve that, then they say, yeah, submit the full application, and then you have to submit more.
This might be something different, because they were saying it was like a 1 8.5 by 11 page, and that's it.
That's the eligibility determination.
It's only like a page or
Okay.
two long. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than the pre-app. Like an SRF pre-app is pretty much one page, right? And this one had a few more questions on it, so it might have been like a pager. It's not a big thing.
So I think I just remember Amy saying that a lot of other water suppliers are probably going to be coming in with requests too. And I don't think there was like a deadline, but she just said the funds are here now and before they're expensed to get going on it. And I think there's even going to be replenishment of those funds. So, I think we want to get going on it, but it's not going to be like we're going to miss the whole window if we don't jump on this thing immediately. But I still would like to, just because there may be other opportunities going later. Wasn't she talking about another matching $1.5 million if the town got involved with something?
She was going to look into that as well. If the town could apply for the same grants and get an additional $1.5 million, and apply it to try to get some more additional piping in the ground.
It's just, there's part of our town that needs to be connected. St. Gobain's not doing anything. So it's all going to be on them or the state grants, but they can't connect to us if there's no water line there. And we were a little reluctant to start spending more of our own money, customers' money to put water lines in. But now if there's grants available to us to do that, that's a whole kind of game changer, in my opinion.
And I don't recall, did we ask the question, do we have to have matching funds for these grants, or is it all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Up to the 1.5 or some number, no. After that, maybe a little, but.
Right.
Do you want us to do any follow-up on this at this point? It would be helpful if we.
I think it would, if you want to maybe work with Ron or.
Yeah.
At some point, there's going to be some engineering that needs to be done, and we need to do a grant application. So we're going to have to figure out what the engineering cost is, roll that in with the construction costs, and submit that for a grant application, right?
Well, and I'm just suggesting if it's helpful, and I'm doing this in a couple other communities where Amy's paying for some study dollars too, a $10,000 or $15,000 little scope to get this stuff done. She's paying for that in Stratum. It's actually a bigger scope in Stratum, but this one wouldn't be that much. So you could ask Ron if she'd be willing to do that as an option too.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons why I asked Peter into the Zoom meeting, because I thought there would be some work that Underwood would do to overlay the distribution system with the contaminated wells that Amy was going to give us a layer for. And kind of look at where it makes the most sense to do that. I thought that's something that you guys would be doing, because our staff is busy doing their routine.
I'll tell you what, I'll reach out to Amy too, and I'll just ask her if that's an option for Ron and you to have them fund some work.
Right.
Okay, I'll just ask her.
Yeah, that would be helpful. All right.
Do we want to do
a Zoom call?
A Zoom call or something tomorrow?
Yep, I'll send her a tickler that you and I want to talk to her, and we'll set something up quick.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good. At least we're making some progress there. So is there anything else that Underwood was on here to present to us? I'm trying to see if there's any other notes I have. That road salt thing, that's pretty much all Jamie's.
Want to go through some action items?
I just looked over them, actually. I don't think there's anything open right now.
Okay.
Well, I'll just offer, if you have your Thursday afternoon off 2 to 6, or you have time 2 to 6 on Thursday, feel free to stop by our open house. We're celebrating 40 years. Both offices are open for a show and tell, and so if anybody's interested and wants to see more about what we do and what we look like in the office space, feel free, come on by.
That must be what this, we just got these invites.
There you go.
I really like you guys, but it's my 20th anniversary that day, and my wife would kill me. So you guys are gonna lose that one.
Come on, there's gonna be good snacks.
Wolf, she's invited too. So
Free anniversary dinner.
There you go.
Congratulations on 40 years, guys.
Yeah, good job. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
40
you.
years, not
You
20.
should celebrate. Yeah, you're only halfway there with your own
True,
anniversary.
true.
Great.
Nope, otherwise, I think we had gone through everything we wanted to.
Well, congratulations and keep doing the good work that you guys do, and hopefully it continues for another.
Oh, and I got married 3 weeks ago, so I got a lot of catching up to do.
Whoa.
Wolf.
Yeah.
Wow.
3 weeks, huh?
3 weeks ago. Yep.
Congratulations, yeah.
I hit 30 years last month, so
I hit 3 weeks this week.
scary. Good for you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Anything else you guys have, or was that
Nope.
everything?
I think we used up our 40 minutes.
Yeah, right? Yikes.
Sorry.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Okay.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's jump real quick to, I think we had something to approve on number 3.
Change order.
Yeah, for Emery and Garrett road salt mitigation change order. Let's see where that is. Where is that? I gotta find it. So we're, while I'm looking for that. You want to talk to that, or I guess I can just read it if you want.
Jimmy wanted me to note that he doesn't know how much more work there's going to be on the salt mitigation. It's not even like a solid number. It's just something as a placeholder because he has to be doing a bunch more work on it for now. So we just wanted to put something on paper for the board to approve. And then if there's any further development down the road, then he would ask for another change order. But it's got quite a little bit of bunch meetings coming up.
So did he already exhausted the 38,000 that we originally agreed on? I'm trying to. I mean, what is
13? So the original amount was 13,800.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Existing contract max 38,450.
No, I think. Well, I'm just looking at the original contract amount was 13,800, and then
I'm looking at top here. Oh yeah, he has existing contract amounts 38. This.
yeah.
Yeah, the existing is 38. Well,
38's the original plus the first changeover.
right.
First 2 change orders, I believe. This is the third.
Yeah, it says previous change orders. I don't know how many there is. It says 24,650.
Yeah, that's change order 1 and 2.
So yeah, he did exhaust that then.
He did.
Because now it's going to go up to 47,950 from 38. So that's an extra $9,500 on this change order. And he's saying he's going to provide additional salt mitigation support services relative to promotion of reduction of salt, of use of sodium and chloride for winter applications on highways, parking areas in an effort to lessen levels in MAC aquifers, attending meetings, preparing presentations, general correspondence, general consulting, other matters related to salt mitigation program. So, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's costing us, but I think we got to keep whatever momentum we have going on this. I think we risk a lot more costly millions and tens of millions of dollars by not continuing with the salt mitigation committee and everything that we've been doing. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion. But
Do you get,
you guys feel?
Ron, do you get a summary of like how he consumes those 9,500s every time he does something for us?
We did
Yeah. It's in the invoice or? Because I mean, 9,500 bucks is basically 5 days of work, right? For a consultant of that caliber, ballpark, right? 5-6 days of work.
So it's just by task, and then he just bills out hourly under those tasks.
Okay. He goes out hourly, so we know that he spends, for example, 3 hours going to a meeting.
Yeah.
With a local contractor or something.
I don't know. Does he actually detail his effort? What he actually does?
Task 9 calls professional personnel, 3 hours, $175. Property managers calls and presentations. It's broken down.
All right,
to like
so
9 different
okay.
tasks.
But do we have visibility of that actually happening? And not to question his integrity by any means, but just
Generate map. I mean that one.
Yeah, I know
There's a deliverable.
the data and so on. I beyond a doubt, right? But like him going throughout the community and talking to contractors and businesses and so.
We're generally at those meetings as well. So it'll be the salt mitigation meetings.
Right.
Been in attendance too.
Okay.
We did just give a presentation at the Switchwater Protection Conference.
Right.
That was on them, or him. That shouldn't have been to us.
But we usually have a feel for a sense what's really going on, not just on paper some claims, but we actually have exposure to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Right.
So I guess so. Really, what's on the agenda is for us to vote to accept that change order. I got a few other questions, but maybe we should just about just the salt mitigation thing in general and where we're going with that. But do we want to do a motion now or?
I'll move. I'll move that we accept change order number 3, dated May 23 or 23rd, 2022 by Emery and Garrett, groundwater investigations in the amount of 9,500 to be approved.
And that's
coming out of operating budget, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Engineering.
General engineering.
All right, the motion by Wolf. We have a second. Anyone?
Second it.
Second by John. Any other questions, comments? All right, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye?
Yeah, I said aye.
Okay. John, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, so that's passes 4-0-0. No abstentions, oppositions. Yeah, so we were trying to set up a salt committee meeting. Was it July? There was a dual poll that came out.
July 21st until 2 o'clock.
I was gonna say 27th, but I know that.
So it is scheduled.
Waiting on 2 more people to get back and firm it up with everyone.
All right, it's looking like, yeah, I think he did say in his email, it's looking like 21st or 2nd or something, right?
And what is it actually? 21st?
Yes.
July 21st is the target date.
Okay. All right. So he had in Jamie's correspondence in the packet, he had like a bunch of signs for examples. I didn't know, do we, what's the next step? Do we want to make a decision on what signs we want to go with?
That's what we need to do in order to get them ordered.
Right.
So we have, this is what we currently have out, I know.
Yep. Did you guys see those in your packets?
Yeah.
The different signs? Oh, so those are ones that's probably why they look familiar to me. I was kind of leaning towards that one actually. Just because it's got like the bigger letters on it. And I think it's easier to see.
And I was kind of leaning on one on the third page, the top, but only because it says entering, that's kind of what I wanted to put out there, but to me, it makes sense to go to kind of to what we have similar, then we can utilize the signs that we have as well.
I wouldn't use the word wellhead because the general public has no clue what a wellhead is. At least I didn't prior to this job.
Yeah, it's probably, that's probably true.
And that's maybe because I'm a mechanical engineer, not a water engineer, but I don't know.
It does say below, like it would say protect maritime
Right, right,
water.
right.
Help.
But I don't know, I guess the one that's the simple one that we already have is just says drinking water protection area.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Kind of says what it is.
Yeah.
All right, and so the salt policy from the town is still, we're still waiting for it?
Yes.
Right.
And I know there was a confusion on there that I was told that it was done, and it's currently well, they were waiting on some information from us for the wellhead protection area of 4 and 5. So that he has that. I talked to him, and I did send him shot him on an email today asking if we was finished with the draft yet or not.
Right. Yeah, because I'd like to certainly kind of review it and see. It was a good find that you found that 1984 previous one.
And that's the intent. Unless it's been changed up on us, but that was the intent, was when it's done, he was going to get it to us and we'd be able to make comments. So.
Right. Which it confused me when I saw that. I was surprised because I think Kyle told us, I've asked him and he said, oh, it's not like we have a list of streets that we say is no salt and low salt and all that. And I was like, oh, really? And it's exactly what they had in 1984. So I don't know if he's not aware of that policy or.
No, I think
I don't know. It just wasn't what he said to me, wasn't what existed. So that kind of leads me back to these signs are good, but I also want to see signs that clearly say where the no salt and low salt areas are. And I think we were talking about maybe doubling up the same post with both of those signs.
We're going to work with the town installing these signs, and then he's going to utilize our post to kind of correspond with, as you get closer to the wellhead protection area, if it's going to be a no salt area or a limited salt area,
right? Right.
Coordinate those signs within the.
Okay. So is the plan's not for us to put in? Are we putting these signs up, or is the town?
We're going to work with the town. So yeah, we'll.
Okay.
Work with. I don't know whether it's one of our techs and one of their techs. I don't know if they probably have the equipment to pound a post in. So.
Yeah. So we want to make sure we have them on, like if we're getting into the aquifer protection zone, we want to have a sign there. And then we have enough signs to put them inside the aquifer protection zone as well, or just at the edges?
I recall that I was.
That's that map that
you have the map.
I couldn't find that. I know it was in one
I
of the packets.
I just dawned on me that I think I said I was going to reset it to the last meeting. I haven't.
Yeah, so I just, again, I think before, do we have to approve? Do we already approve the grant for this? The commissioners? It wasn't there, this was all working under a grant, right?
Source water protection.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we
Yeah,
did.
so the grant's all set.
Yeah.
We already had the public hearing and everything except with.
I guess all I'm saying is I want to know what signs are going to be put where before they're put in without us seeing it. I can just make that request if there's a map that we can have.
I will resend that map.
Right.
Where I was kind of thinking of, so my thought was as you're entering it, either side of the wellhead protection area, we'll say Natticook Road, for an example.
Yep.
From the south part of Natticook Road, a sign there, or a sign on the, the northern coming in, when you hit Greens Pond Road, where that intersects, that's what I was kind of thinking as far as signage. And I want to say we estimated it was like 100 signs.
Oh, good.
Just in that area. So I mean, We're gonna pepper the areas with signs.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I would like to do because I want the public to be able to see the signs. And not only the drinking water protection sign, I want them to see where it says no salt. Because there's a sign that says no salt on Natticook Road right now.
Yep. No
salt area. But there's salt on the road periodically. And I know that doesn't mean 100% of the time. It's all in the bylaw, at least in the 1984 version. It did say there are extenuating circumstances. If it's just sheer ice where you have to do something, I understand that. But I'd like the public to be kind of policing this because I think that's going to take the burden off of everybody in this room that cares. And, you know.
And we do get calls once. I know, I want to say it was Gerard Drive was one of the areas that was a no salt. And they made a call one time that salt on my road. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think that was all I had. Let's see. You had asked before about putting a letter together to the, I don't know if you were going to ask about that.
Mhm.
And Jamie actually mentioned something similar.
Yeah.
So it sounded like it was kind of asking for the same thing.
I can put something together.
Yeah, and I don't know if
Is that something the board's going to want to see once it?
I don't necessarily, but I think we need to refer to the specific meeting, the planning board meeting and conservation commission meeting that I had referenced, right? So I was actually, I really appreciated some of the committee and I think town councilor Andy Hunter actually brought it up that MVD should be consulted on this, but I was a little bit shocked how.
And we are, and I do want to say that typically we are.
I do think that contractor definitely needs to be made aware of that, or that developer, whoever that project manager, definitely needs to be made aware of that. And it probably would be a good idea to make the conservation committee aware of it too, because it was kind of almost teetering of not happening at all. It was at the very end of the discussion that MVD was brought up.
I know we do review plans within the wellhead protection area, and that's generally would give those comments of, you know, no salt or no sodium chlorides, or there's even some out there that, you know, no ice melting.
Well, a statement was made that, you know, sodium wasn't the issue, chloride is the issue, right? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense from an ice melter standpoint. It's sodium chloride, right? And it's really the sodium that is the issue.
It is. It's kind of twofold because there's calcium chloride as well. So
right.
And that's where you almost want to go with the no ice melting compounds because you cover more. But yes,
the sodium is a health issue. The chloride is more of a corrosion issue.
Right.
And it, you know, like Lynette said, it's if that's preventing us from using anion resin for PFAS treatment because the chlorides are too high. We're potentially paying more money for something we could use better that would last longer and we can't use it. You know, so it's kind of like snowballing. Okay.
So I'll start working on a letter and actually I will send it out to them.
Right.
And I wonder, you know, we went through that exercise the other day about basically reviewing, and I'm not sure if we're done with reviewing it, but our approval process, right? I wonder if the same needs to be happening on the planning board and conservation commission there a little bit. You know, that they have that on whatever checklist or, you know, procedure that they have established over the year. MVD needs to be added to it.
And I believe that we are, because there's been plans out there, or conditions set on plans.
On the planning board, yeah, but conservation commission doesn't.
So unless I have it wrong, conservation, I know they will make recommendations as well to the planning board sites. But generally the planning board, if it's within the wellhead protection area, they are looking for our comments, and they'll put it, you know, if they didn't receive a comment from us, they will actually, you know, they have to, you know, the contractor will have to meet, you know, any conditions that we throw out there type of thing.
So you were talking about, was it an engineer that was doing a presentation to the Conservation Commission?
Yeah.
And what happened?
Was a project manager of a developer, I think, or at least of somebody in, wasn't it a hospice or something like that? I think it was a hospice, right? So there's a hospice that wants to expand and I think it was part of that. Didn't they also need to expand the parking lot or something, right? And
walkways.
And walkways, that's right. And then a concern was brought up regarding de-icing and the conversation went on for quite a bit. And at one point, somebody mentioned, hey, you might want, actually, in fact, I'm pretty sure it was Andy Hunter and I think somebody on the committee as well. I mean, Andy is on the committee, but somebody of the commissioners as well. And at the very end, it was brought up that MVD and the planning board need to be consulted as well. But it really took a good 10, 15 minutes to even get there. So I was a little surprised by that. And again, not everybody recognizes that MVD is a separate entity from the town. Maybe that's the problem, right? But I can see that. But in general, I think I would like to see that a little bit higher up in the awareness scale.
So if you're putting a letter together, I think that's also the letter that Jamie was recommending gets sent to the Conservation Planning Board, and I guess even the council. I'm even thinking, do we want to send something to, there's a handful of engineers that I see in front of the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission.
Not a bad idea.
Keach, Nordstrom, Meridian. There's probably there's probably 3 or 4 engineers that do like 75, 80% of all of the design presentations in town. Send them to them as well, just to the same letter, just so people are aware. Even maybe they might want to even get someone to come and join on our SALT committee. You know what I mean? So I know we've hit all the landowners and stuff, but as I'm just thinking of this now, a lot of the new projects that are designed by those few engineering companies, maybe hit them up too and see if, we can follow up and see if they're interested in joining the SALT committee or something too. So, all right. That's good. I guess let's move on from here. All my questions answered. So, everybody good with that? Can move on to, I think the next one is the minutes from May 16th. Anybody have a chance to have any corrections on those, or are we good to approve them, or want to make a motion on?
I have at least one small correction and might be semantics, but on the first page, Amanda, you ready? So on the first page, line 48, it's not just all liabilities were in the books. I asked specifically about the balance sheet because that's where it needs to be. And I don't want it to just be hidden in the P&L. I want it on the balance sheet.
How's that supposed to be?
Instead of on the books, all liabilities were on the balance sheet.
So just change books to balance sheet.
Yep.
All right.
And somewhere we had.
Yeah, we have to, there's a thing highlighted that we need to.
Yeah, that too.
Right.
But on that same page where the highlight is prior to that, it refers to Blood Road, and I think it's Old Blood Road. No, it's maybe not important, but I think
you're right.
If somebody wants to go back and fight us on something,
so
it's
where was
on
that?
Page 8, line 33. I think it's Old Blood Road, not just Blood Road.
Okay. And then on line 37, 38, if Kevin was saying gallons per day, wait a minute. Yeah, the fire demand was 1,500 gallons per day. If that's what he said, you should leave it there, but I would keep this thing in the parentheses that
it should be gallons per minute, but he may have been saying that.
Right. So I think the way that you should handle that is to say, if somebody said something incorrectly, I think the minutes need to reflect that, what it was said. But then after we could put something just like you did in parentheses, you could probably just say something like this should be gallons per minute, not gallons per day. So if you want to make those changes to the minutes, that would probably suffice, I would say. Everybody's in agreement with that. All right. Anybody else have any other edits? I didn't have any here. Which is good. I think these came out like right before the commissioner package too. They usually come out a week early the draft. So I don't know what happened there, but that's all right. Well, I didn't have any edits to make. All right, everybody
John,
good?
Didn't John want to say something?
I think you said they were good. You said you were good with that, John?
Correct.
Yeah. All right, so next is action items.
There's really only one for
The vote on the minutes?
Do we have to vote on the minutes?
Sorry, yeah, I forgot. So you made the motion.
No,
Oh, you didn't? I thought you
no, I
did.
just made edits.
Oh, all right. So make a motion to accept
So moved.
the minutes as modified from, this is the minutes for, hell date was that? May 16, 2022. All right, so it was motion by Wolf, second by Ken. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. John, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, so that's 4-0-0, no abstentions or oppositions. All right, so now the action items. I guess the first two in here and the last column, it looks like there's a date that we want to put in there. It says ongoing report to be given at the blank meeting. So what is this? This is quarterly, the first two items. So when is that?
They could put a date in there, given the turnaround time when the results could be taken at the beginning of the quarter, but we may not have them for the first meeting.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if this is just like to tell us when to expect to see it.
In the action items, it says this to be done quarterly. I think we could just take out the report to be given at whatever meeting, because it's going to be quarterly that you'll get the results.
Well, as long as we get the results, I think this is like a reminder to tell us when to expect to get the results. I think that's the point of this last column. Because if it says just to be done quarterly, we can go 6 months and no one would know when the last quarter was that we got the results. If, you know what I mean? It's like a...
You mean like March, July, October?
So when do you sample, like even on...
So we're sampling.
Sample of the first month of the quarter. So July will sample, but we may not have the results for the July board meeting.
Right.
Right, so then let's put June. I mean, August. And then the next time we'll change it to November or whatever, you know. I think this is the thing we just want to kind of keep updating every time. At least it's set up that way because there's a blank there. So if you're sampling beginning of July, we may not have the results by the July meeting. We won't, but we should have them by August.
Why don't you just use, it says date mark complete. So why don't you just use the last time that he did it as the date, and we'll know to expect it again in about 3 months.
Okay. So.
That way you don't have to guess.
Right. So we're going to expect these in August then. Yeah. Just looking to fill in that blank there. We want to put in a
August POC meeting.
Or?
No, August POC meeting, and in August we it to November.
Okay.
Or whatever it is, right? I think that was John's idea, right? Put in the next date and then keep updating it.
Keep updating it from there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You good with that, Amanda? We're looking, I think, August for the first two.
So for 23 as well.
Yeah, what are the different ones here? Oh, the first one was for the ESRs. Well, number 23 would be August because that's the PFAS sampling. Number 2, I'm not sure when Ron did the ESR budget updates. You do those quarterly.
Quarterly as well, and I
Can't remember the last time it was done.
wasn't it in the packet.
It was either 1 or 2 meetings ago.
I think 2 meetings ago we had it. Yeah.
Two.
Will we do again in July? Or they'll be the July meeting.
Mhm.
All right, so number 2 is July, number 23 would be August.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. What else do we got here? Turkey Hill Booster, any update on that?
I did have them, I met with them out there. They're fine with the different things that we're doing. I did mention to them we have a contractor that's going to replace the skirting. They had some concerns and we did some privacy shrubs just past the building. Like 4 or 5 shrubs. They've died.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So at the time when we were putting the shrubs in, I'd mentioned maybe probably put the fence. They preferred the shrubs. They'll take the fence now. So we'll do 3, like a 3 section.
So we're putting, what's the purpose of putting up the shrubs or a fence? Is it supposed to help? I mean, how many people go over there privacy wise where they're interfering with their privacy?
Now kind of where the pump house is, or the booster station is, by the time we get up there, we're around the building or any work around the building, we're kind of in their backyard. We're not physically in their backyard, but we're that far back that we're
Really
right
visible.
there. So the noise has been better, but so I
understand the noise,
Yeah.
but I mean, privacy wise, you're on MVD property,
yes.
And they have their property. If they don't, if my neighbors interfere with my privacy, I'm not asking them to put up a fence for me, or shrubs for me. It's,
Well, that fence was gonna help a little bit with the noise as well, right?
It should,
It's
yeah.
going right next to the building,
It'd be on the property line,
right? But it should,
on the other side of the road.
right?
So what was agreed to, that we were going to provide a fence instead of
Just
shrubs?
Yeah, I'm gonna do like 2 or 3 sections, just enough to block up that area to put, a little bit of a barrier.
Yeah. I know, I think it's a good gesture, I guess. It's not a real expensive item, but
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like $500 to $1,000 really, but at the end of the day, each panel is like what, $50 to $80, $100 something.
well, it depends on what you look for.
I haven't looked at fence. It was just gonna be a regular.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gesture and
Fence. It's not gonna be anything.
I think it's fair to do.
are we
but-
putting it up or are we hiring?
No, we'll put it up.
Put it up, yeah. And again, the real initial complaint was the noise, so.
Right.
It's a noise.
If this helps mitigate the noise a little bit, I can see it from that perspective. I agree with you, though, if it's just like a visual thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna help that too, but that pump station's been there forever.
What was lower on the hill? So
Yeah, so we did
it is
change conditions.
It is a different setup because now we're above ground. I think being in the ground before, where it was a little bit more of a could be a little bit more dangerous for us because it was in the ground. Now it's above ground. We don't have those safety issues anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it is set back far enough that it's kind of right there. It's not a wide piece of property either. So you've got the booster station, you have a road, then it's the property line. So we're pretty close.
Yeah. And it's like Ron said, since we did make that change, it made it a little bit more.
I understand for noise.
Which we have all the
but-
right to do, don't get me wrong.
Right.
Obviously, that's the case, but we don't have to do any of this mitigation, but it's more of just a good gesture to prevent them from
We're trying to be good neighbors.
darts at us. And yeah. Okay. That's good. Glad you got to that point. The open house, I think was just tabling that, or was that
Spring,
over? Okay. Salt committee meeting, that looks like it's going to be scheduled. Okay, what else we have here? Number 45, I thought we had talked about this. What is the reason this is still on there? I thought we
were kind of wondering the same things. I thought we've actually talked about it a couple times.
Right. Permitted threshold
So we can exceed.
Threshold. So what's your recollection of the resolution of that?
So for it being a new well, there's actually limits on that. 5 is older. I mean, we say 875, 870. I think it's permitted for 874, but there's really no limitation on it. We can exceed it.
Because that's like grandfathered or something?
Yeah, it was before I guess there was a limits put on, I guess.
All right, do we want to put that one to bed? Number 45?
We do.
I think so. Okay, so you
Do
get that
you
one?
also want to, yeah, I marked that one. Do you also want to close out 39 or are you waiting until the fence comes?
I think we can close it out.
I guess so. They're not asking for any
Nope.
more noise mitigation. They're not
No,
still
no,
saying they're not happy with anything.
Yep, they're up. Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, all right. Good point. Yeah, you guys agree to that. We can close out 39. Event policy, probably that one is.
It's really in Carrie's hand. Last we talked
Yeah.
about it, there was an email exchange. It's not so much me. But it is a discussion we need to have when she's back. I don't think it's urgent right now.
Right. And she's gonna be out till, what did she say? August?
I think it is August.
Okay,
Yeah, let's put that maybe,
well, we'll just leave it there and we'll,
yeah, but the date should be updated.
oh, yeah.
So let's say
September.
September 1st, Amanda 46.
Okay.
And do change my name, please, and put that on Carrie
Right.
because I'm not gonna
Right.
do much about that. She
Okay.
needs to advise us what we can and cannot to agree on that.
All right. What was the next one then?
47,
Number 47 and 49.
future work session.
Yeah, so are we still planning on having an additional work session?
It's not gonna be in summer.
Right. We had one already, but we didn't quite answer all these questions on this, right?
We didn't. So maybe 47 and 49, want to put that also in September?
Yep.
Then we don't have to worry about it for the next meeting or two.
So that's the last column you're changing, right?
Oh, data added, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, yeah.
I'm actually just going to make note of it in the actual action item.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we on now? 52. I'm not aware that those results are in yet. I think there was still something coming in, right? You didn't,
Yeah.
did you talk to Brandon at all?
I haven't yet, but I can. But they were supposed to,
Last meeting, when we asked about it, I emailed Brandon and he said they hadn't gotten back yet.
Huh. Those were the split samples, right? We got half of them back, but not the other lab.
The ones that DES did.
Yeah.
Because they did that in their own lab. The
Oh.
EPA ones are back yet.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you want to remember maybe to give him a call and just to see. He might have come in and he might have forgot to just update us, but he probably wouldn't have. He would have updated us. He's pretty good at that. Number.
It's coming from him.
it's not like he's busy up there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Slam.
Well, so is EPA, the EPA's not sending them to us, are they?
They're the ones who sent us the request before to contact you about when she was coming down.
Oh, yeah.
No, was she with EPA or I thought she was with
Go back
DES.
and
I have to go back. Yeah.
I know that there was one from EPA, Joanne or something. But we can look into it.
Okay. Number 53, looks like we are moving forward with that already. Do we want to leave that on here? Number 53?
I'd kill it, it's on the agenda now, we have a quote coming in, so I think we can take it off,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah, as long as we don't forget about it. All right, so number 53, we want to put that to rest. Number 55, the sick pay, are we?
We went over that a couple meetings ago, but Michelle
We
gave me a
did.
copy of the town, just that paid sick leave, a portion of the applicable employees accrued sick leave balance that exceeds 240 hours at the end of any fiscal year will be purchased by the town at a rate of 66.67 times the employee's base hourly wage. Upon separation from town employment under favorable conditions, employees shall be paid at 66.67 of their base salary hourly wage for accrued sick leave balances.
I need that in writing to process that, to be honest.
I'm not saying that. I don't know what I just read.
Do we want to make a note to maybe have discussions during budgets
Yeah,
time on this?
Yeah.
For that?
Yeah, all right, so put that in the last column to bring this around. What time is that?
January.
Yeah,
Yeah, we really start before, don't we?
Start in November, she sends out.
No,
the-
true. No, we start earlier. We try to get everything out to the staff in October. So I think it is January by the time you'll see the budget, but.
So we want to talk about this in December, see if we want to make any changes or something?
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable? All right, so I guess put the December meeting in that last column for that one.
Okay.
Number 56, again, those are a couple more work sessions, 56, 57.
I think it all ties together with the other items too, is
Kind of
September.
does, yeah. Yeah, why don't we target September?
Was that covered in the one we just had with?
No, not quite, because we talked about it, but we didn't necessarily make, well,
It did get changed and they're using the higher for the peak number for,
Using the 1.5 times or something now, right?
yeah.
yeah, you might be right, actually. But I'd like to confirm it.
Okay.
All right, so why don't we put numbers 56 and 57 with a target date of September for, if we do the other work sessions, we can kind of probably roll these all together. I think.
That's what I'm thinking. If it's taken care of, then it's gonna be a 5-minute discussion, right? So it's not
Yeah,
gonna take
just
up much
probably to
time.
kind of refresh everyone's memory of what we actually concluded. And then the graphs, let's see, what was number 58? Updated information on minimum graphs. Yeah, that's ongoing. I think they were just in our packet last month or something, I think.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Is that something we want to do like periodically too? Well, the samples are quarterly, right? That they process. I think the samples are monthly or quarterly.
Yeah.
So maybe do like we did for the first 2 action items and have like a recurring date that we have a target there. So you look at that and say, oh, I got to get that for that meeting. At least try to. And so that would be, I think if they were in our last month's packet.
Do them the same as we do the other ones. We do the quarterlies at the beginning of the quarter. So if anything happens or there's timing issues that we still have.
Okay, so then that would be, you should be sampling in July. So maybe August. But that Jamie processes these graphs, doesn't he?
Well, no, I send Brian the data. And he puts them into the system.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant, Emery and Garrett. Okay. So you want to make that one for August? You think we'll have the information by then?
Yeah.
All right, so number 58, put a target date for August in the last column. Then number 59, the last one, from proactive measures to track customer water quality complaints.
And Amanda, thank you for your email. I would just I would use the wording the way it is there right now. I would only add solids and chlorine.
So you mean to say like sediment and chlorine? That
Yeah.
better word?
Yeah. Discoloration. You can also just say discoloration in chlorine. Actually, let's do that with discoloration, sediments, and chlorine.
Yeah.
Because that's the three main complaints that we hear about.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're good with action items. So old business.
Actually, I have a quick question. Oh, never mind. You canceled out. You had mentioned adding an action item earlier, but then you nixed that, so it's all set.
All right. Old business. Anybody have any old business? There was a letter in our packet about June 7th, kind of inviting you to go to, what to say here, go to the planning board again. I think it seems like you were just there.
Yeah, they're gonna, I guess they're trying to get things started a little bit early, so that was maybe part of, just let you know that, yeah. We'll be working on it. You'll probably have something in the July meeting. We'll maybe have an agenda item just to go over it and
To go over the CIP.
CIP.
Yeah, I think
discussion.
that's the one comment I had on this is that looking at the table of the CIP, I think that definitely needs to be updated. There was a bunch of things on there that I see that a lot of them we've already done. And, you know, the one thing I'm not sure what we're doing is we're actually still waiting for Underwood to come back with us to present us the alternatives, the source alternatives evaluation that they were supposed to recalculate. Because we got to decide if we're going to move forward on something, right?
Sooner
Right. So
rather than later.
Throw those options, throw all the options in or something.
that's going to kind of tie in with the CIP, you know, because if we decide we're going to try to pursue certain source alternatives and not others, then we might want to put those on the CIP and kind of makes sense that way. So maybe if we can remember, I don't know how we can remember these things without putting them on the action item list, but if we can remember to try to get Underwood to present to us their updated source alternative cost evaluation. They were supposed to do an addendum. And well, it could. It's just we won't see that we didn't address it until we're sitting here looking at the action item that it's not on the agenda.
We review the action items before we do the agenda.
Oh, all right. So do we want to go back and make an action item for Underwood to present the addendum to the source alternative cost analysis? And,
Yep.
and that will be for the July meeting?
We'll see if he's ready for it.
If he's ready for it. I would have thought he was because we talked about it at the May meeting.
I think it was for this meeting. That was one of the comments. He wasn't ready for it yet, but.
Oh, is that what he said? All right, okay.
And then maybe another action item, update the CIP.
Yeah. So make another action item to revisit and update the capital improvement plan. And we'll target those for July. And we could actually have, if Underwood's got the source alternative cost evaluation updated, they can also discuss with us the CIP, right?
So yes, so actually, yes, they can. So yeah, it would.
Do you think that
put on the next agenda to kind of make the, they're looking for it July 22nd.
Okay.
So, yeah, so
what's our meeting gonna be? It's gonna be June 18th. July 18th. I mean, like a month behind all night tonight. Okay. So you think that timing works, or we'll be able to?
Yeah, we'll give it our best go.
Okay. Hey, that's the best we can do.
Do you also want to add Ron following up with Lou about Zeolite?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
And just so you know, the July 18th meeting, I may need to attend remotely. I don't know yet.
Okay. Oh yeah, so old business, you have a lot of the, in the packet here, you have a lot of the data from wells 4 and 5 that we kind of went over already with Lynette. So I was just wondering if there's anything else anybody else has for old business.
Nope.
Any word, Wolf, with the,
No. The visit?
yeah,
No, not yet.
Okay.
Thank you though for asking. It's getting busy in the campaign season, so the question is to be transparent. The question was General Baldock and his campaign were asking for a non-public walkthrough of MVD filtration plants and DSE filter or PFAS filtration plants, and just a general briefing on the whole situation. Again, he's aware of the issue and he wants to help. So
this is way scaled down. It has
it's
no
going to
effect
be
on our
no
event policy because it's not really an
no
event.
no. It's a visit. It's
Right.
not an event. It's a visit. There's no entourage, no press, nothing.
Yep. Good. Yeah. So whenever, feel free to put that together. Let's see. I don't know if you were mentioning the EPA health advisories in your.
I didn't, I figured we were gonna talk about it earlier and we
I didn't want to take your thunder away. So.
Yeah, no.
New business, the EPA
Yes, he
came out
will.
with.
He's going to have it in the superintendent. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
No, it's not there, this one.
The health advisories for PFOA are extremely lower. They're 0.004 parts per trillion. We can't even measure that low.
Quadrillion.
It's 0.004 parts per trillion, but it's 4 parts per quadrillion.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, which is extremely low. We can't measure it yet, but apparently what I'm gathering is when they make their health risk assessment, that must be what it calculates to as being the limit that doesn't cause health effects.
Which
you can't measure it, but you can calculate it.
I'm just confused at how so do we assume if we have a non-detect, it's a non-detect?
We go with the best technology possible.
Right now, until the labs catch up. PFOS is 0.02 parts per trillion, which is 20 parts per quadrillion, which is PPQ. So if you see PPQ out there, John, what's your involvement on this? Have you, Mr. Lab connoisseur, what's your opinion on these? Just curious.
I think I kind of gave it. I think that they will come up with health. There's still a health advisory for radon. There has been one for like 30 years. They still never made an MCL for it.
Right.
I think they will with this, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that.
Right.
So it's going to be like an MCLG, basically. It's a goal, and they're aware of the problem. They don't have the funds, I don't highly guess, to make that actually happen. And they're only addressing two contaminants. So I think it's a great start, but we're into next year at least before we see an MCL on it from the feds. And I think we're operating under what we're operating. I told my people that basically, I think Brandon's interpretation was that no level of PFAS is healthy for you in these two categories.
Right.
And so if I have people that are testing below the MCL, but detectable, we should mention that and say the EPA thinks that this is unhealthy and you should consider treatment.
Right. Who did you send out slides from DES? Who sent? I can't remember who sent those to me, but
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay. Yeah. So
I attended a meeting before they came out with that.
Right. Those are pretty informative. So did you email those out to everyone? Good. Because I took a look at them and, it says right in there, MCLs are based on like feasibility, whereas health advisories are not, right? So that's why the MCL never catches up to the health advisory because they couldn't afford it to, unfortunately. But anyways, it was pretty interesting. If you guys have a copy of those DES slides, they're not long. They're good to look at just to kind of see where their perspective is. But that was all I wanted to update on the new business. So anybody else has any new business?
I have a quick one. The water restriction, odd even signs in town, as nice as they are, they're not mounted very well. The one on Bedford Road keeps popping off. I fixed it twice. I think it's just basically the board is too short and they have to somehow prevent it from sliding and dropping, right? And I think the one on Continental is much better. The other ones don't seem to be too bad, but the one on Bedford Road is specifically bad. And it really damages the canvas too, right? The fabric, right? Because then it's getting all crumpled up and everything.
Fold in the middle of it.
That's right. So it would be good to have that fixed once and for all.
Okay.
It's kind of actually, I don't know if it's something to look at, but the way the Rotary Club does it, they use PVC
I
pipe.
was just thinking of something in the PVC.
They use PVC pipe included, and that was the end of it, and it's very stable. UV.
Probably PVC would be better, but
Yeah.
it'll last longer.
Probably weather better. Yeah.
And maybe use UV resilient zip ties. Not all of them are resilient to UV.
Yep.
PVC is, but zip ties usually aren't. So that's
all right. Any other new business? No, then we can go to superintendent report.
So it just have a couple things. A large groundwater permit for Mitchell Woods was renewed for another 5 years. That was just done. And our CCR has been completed and posted on our website. We'll be doing a bulk mailing postcard. Let people know about that and where they can obtain a copy if they would like.
Yeah, and I saw it came out on the push notifications that we are, so those work great. Those are still working well. I'm getting the results of the well PFAS tests and everything too, so that's good. It's all working well. How's the my MVD going? Is that a lot of people signing up on that?
I don't have the numbers, but I know we did.
You heard anything in the ethosphere about the success of it or anything?
Actually, that'll be mailed when we do the postcard. It's going to be on the postcard as well. So,
all right, good. All right. Any other questions from press or public? I don't know if there's anybody on the line, if we can tell or not.
No.
Okay. And I guess that's it. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
That's my job.
Motion by John, and it's still light out. Look at that.
Yeah,
it's getting cold though.
The longest day of the year.
Seconded.
Tomorrow. All right. So motion by John, second by Wolf. All those in favor?
Aye.
John, how do you vote?
Aye, aye.
Aye, aye. All right. Meeting is adjourned. See everybody on the July 18th. Next
Have a good night,
Board of
folks.
Commissioners meeting.
Have a good
Thank
night,
you.
Jim.
Goodbye,
Have a
everybody.
good night.